Critical Rollback,
where we're opening a line of credit with you. I was going for like the cheesiest supermarket intro that I could think of.
You need to be more artificially cheerful about this, where we are going to start a line of credit with you, dear customer.
Twinkle, twinkle. Hi, my name is Bal.
I'm Jana.
Welcome to Critical Rollback, episode 14?
Mm-hmm. 14.
Alright, rather I guess 13 for us, 14 for Critical Role. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's easier if we just keep referring to the episode numbers that we're actually talking about instead of going to by like how manyest episode for us is this, because we also have like a special episode or two in between, and we are going to be like doing certain episodes together in sets of two, because we don't want to deal with it twice.
Yeah. And if I have to say that, like, welcome to Critical Rollback, episode 68, here we're doing episode 69, I'm going to be very sad.
Exactly.
I get to say that my favorite episode of Critical Role ever is episode 69, now that's so good to me.
I'm not sure whether I would... Honestly, I would probably agree with that. It is a really good episode that we are not covering today. We're not even close to that.
You don't need to agree that it's your favorite episode, but it is definitely like one of quality-wise the best episodes. But anyway,
I wouldn't know what other episode would be my favorite episode is the thing, because that episode has like the things I like the most.
Mm-hmm. It's just like the biggest combination of like good things one after the other.
Mm-hmm. Good things and genuine emotion, back when resurrection meant something.
Yeah. Speaking of resurrection. So this is episode 14 of Critical Role. This is our shopping and shipping.
Something or other.
One of those. It's kind of like the downtime episode after they've
This is the recuperating episode. This is the first instant of a recuperating episode. We got like half of that last time already.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also one of my favorite features of this campaign, is when after like high intensity combat, they often just take like an episode to decompress and do cannonball contests and balls and girl talk and whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes they just do really weird stuff for no reason. And
I mean, they do it all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, like, because I'm thinking about, like, some episodes that are kind of, like, informally downtime episodes, like, you remember that's the one where, like, they get, like, the rhinoceros helmet? I don't really... there's a lot of episodes where they just do, like, weird stuff after they've had, like, a really high-intensity encounter, and then, like, you can't really call it, like, a...
Do you get a number for me? Like a ballpark?
I don't have a number, but it's the episode where they go visit the hat store. They go visit the hat shop.
Oh, isn't that the Singorn one?
No, that's the one where they steal the hat. The one where they go and they see, like the very fancy lady.
Oh, yeah, that's when Grog and Scanlan go get hats, and Scanlan gets the witch hat for Vexalia?
Yeah, that's where they get the witch hat for Vexalia.
There's Victor in this, and Percy is around and makes like a grabby hand.
Yeah, this is very much like the same kind of vibe. That's the episode that I was thinking about while watching this episode. I was like, oh, this is the shopping episode. This is like...
That's post-Feywild, and... Is it post-Feywild? Did Vex have the head?
No, it's pre-Feywild. I think it's post-Conclave. Conclave?
No, it has to be post-Conclave because they weren't back.
Yes, because he got the witch hat.
Is this 57?
It might be 57. I need to check because I have this episode like very loosely in my head, and I
know the scenes, but I feel like it was after 57 because I remember 57 very.
Yeah, and it had to.
Or was that? No, it could have been 57 because this would be like what Percy, Scanlan, and Grog do while everyone else is at the Raven Queen Temple, right?
It might be. It's just one of those episodes where it's like post-fight. I think it's probably post-fighting Brimscythe, right?
Brimscythe is the one that died before the show.
God damn it! I always confuse the two. There's Brimscythe. Umbrasyl. Yes, this is post-Umbrasyl.
Umbrasyl, the Hope Devourer.
Yes, the Hope Devourer is so much a better name than Umbrasyl. Umbrasyl always just like slips my mind. But yeah,
it is also just the edgelordiest of their names.
Umbrasyl.
Which is not to not to throw shade on our wonderful Hope Devourers of our Patreon followers, because we did like a thing with the Patreon followers where you all have like, where the tiers have the titles of the dragons. In other Critical Role news, like the EXU stuff is gone and done, and I enjoyed it very much, and I can recommend it to people who don't have issues with the premise.
Mm-hmm.
or certain players.
I didn't watch it for multitudes of reasons.
For both of these reasons.
It's partially because, like, Brendan Lee Mulligan seems like a very, very cool and nice and respectful dude, and I have a ton of respect for him. I cannot see his face or hear him talk.
And that is valid. I understand that.
I always feel like I'm listening to my brother talk about cars. I've mentioned this many times, but every time he's talking, I just hear my brother telling me, like, how cars work. And I'm like, I know how cars work. And anyway.
And I don't have a brother who did this to me, so I'm fine. Yeah, that happened. Again, if you don't have any issues with the premise or the people, I can wholeheartedly recommend that. Even though I'm really not one for a downer ending usually. We'll talk about that eventually. Mm-hmm. And then Critical Role returned with a new intro.
Yay! I actually really like this intro. Not the song.
Yeah, I mean, the animation and the actual people in it are kind of fun.
Oh yeah, and like I was talking about this with someone about how, like, I suspected it was rushed just because, like,
of course,
this is nothing to, I don't want to say that rotoscoping is not a great, because like, I actually really like rotoscoping when it's done well. I think it can be used really well, and I think this is actually a fun use for it. It reminds me a lot of, like, the first intro that they did, in terms of it's just like the players making goofy hand gestures.
I mean, if anything, it's the most like the 70s look intro they did, right?
You think so? I thought it was the most like the first intro, and that, like, it's kind of like closet cosplay.
Is it cosplay? It didn't look cosplay to me.
They don't really do cosplay. They just kind of do make gestures, and the gestures, like, hint to characters.
Right. And Marisha has, like, these black thingies on her fingers and stuff. I understand what you mean now, yes.
But yeah, I do definitely see, like, the 80s-ish.
A little bit, yes.
I mean, it's kind of...
The thing is, now we kind of have to reckon with the fact that even with visuals that are perfectly fine, not colonialist or offensive in any other way that I've heard of so far, or seen for myself, the song is just kind of not that good.
It's just not that good. The way that I would describe it is that it feels like it kind of goes on this, like, kind of 80s song, kind of like a rolling rise. Like, it's climbing up, it's ramping up, and then it just, like, does not stick the landing.
Like, I didn't like Your Turn to Roll the first time I heard it either, but that sort of ingratiated itself to me. This one just isn't.
It also, like, Your Turn to Roll ingratiated itself to me just because it's a fun song to sing along to.
Yes!
Because it's, like...
Yes, I mean, I understand we're not doing live shows for the time being, and thank God.
Roll.
But... after you had the experience of the entire audience unpromptedly shouting the intro at you, and then made karaoke versions of it for every subsequent live show, why would you make a song that it's hard to sing along to?
Exactly. Like, it's too wordy.
It's too wordy and too distortedly in places.
Yeah. It also has, like, a certain... What was the thing that Jenny Nicholson said about, like, Dear Evan Hansen? The problem is that all the songs feel like they're pop songs, not like they're musicals.
Okay.
I feel this way about It's Thursday.
I feel this way about the half of the songs in Encanto.
This is a good point. This is a problem with a lot of, like, I feel like if you're going to have a theme song, it needs to be, like, you know, you've got the perfect warlock... her weapons and supplies. Like, it needs to be specific, and it needs to be something that if you sing along without context, it's gonna sound weird.
It's Thursday night, and we're meeting for our cult or something.
We're meeting
going to church
for
together.
Scheduled regular encounter. Like, it needs to be, like, you know, you understand what I mean?
It's Thursday night, we have scheduled intercourse today.
Yeah, look at the clock, it's time for our monthly intercourse. It's Thursday night, we're late for the orgy.
Okay, so anyways, we are still big fans of the fact that they changed it at all and didn't just, like, hide and wait for this to blow over.
Yeah, and even though my point was that I think it's a rush order just because, like, rotoscoping is a great way to animate when you don't have a lot of time, I think ultimately I like it. I think it's better.
The thing that they rush to make something else is already, like, a sign of a good sign, isn't it? That means that they care about the feedback they receive.
Yeah, though I do wish they made a statement.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know. Maybe they did before airing this for the first time, but I don't think... You said you weren't around for the beginning of the episode?
I wasn't around for, like, the first couple minutes. I only came in when the intro started. I was at the gym.
Yeah, and I was asleep. Like,
Maybe they did.
like
I don't
most
know.
normal people are at 4 a.m. I mean, I haven't seen anybody talk about it.
I have absolutely no way of checking.
Oh, well. Anyways.
Future Ball, if you've checked, insert it here. I didn't!
Cool.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to make? Any other statements regarding Critical Role?
I don't think so. I think that's basically everything that's going on right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright, then this would be where we go into the content warnings.
Hello. Welcome to the content and spoiler warnings for episode 14 of Critical Rollback. Happy to have you join us. I want to let you know that in the beginning of this episode, they are kind of grossly objectifying Allura. There's also just casually dropped anti-Ziganist slurs and non-respectful language about sex workers. There's some fantasy racism and is our want discussions of cannibalism and some more ethical issues, as well as some body horror. Additionally, I wanted to let you know that there's some discussion in this episode of sexual harassment, both in terms of how it presents itself in the show, but also some real life stories. And we talk about it in very general terms, but it is discussed. As for Ryan Akaba, he's here for 13 more episodes, though technically he's only actually present for 11 of those, so we're really past the hump. Additionally, there's also mention of drug use. As for spoiler warnings, I do believe we mentioned some things regarding the latest couple of episodes of Campaign 3, and some general mentions of Campaign 2. Thank you very much for joining me for the content and spoiler warnings, and enjoy the rest of the episode. Bye!
Episode first aired on June 11th, I can do the THs, 2015, and we are recording this on July 3rd, 2022. So Pride Month is over, everybody pack it up.
Put your flags away. We're all going back to being heterosexuals, right?
Well, the brands sure did.
Oh! Sorry, I just realized that we both did this research.
Cool, yes. Yeah, we did research. We do research on this. I think it's just kind of neat.
Sorry, I was going to come into the ad of Game Tidbits and be like, I was curious about this prop maker, so I looked him up to see if he's been cancelled, and here I find that you too have done this.
Yeah, because I think it's cool to just check up with these people now, and turns out that this dude, who has a German name, I didn't find out anything about his ethnicity, nationality, whatever.
I figured because, Commissar prop sounds kind of like something would sound with a German background would pick.
Commissar is a German word for police investigator.
Yeah, I don't feel like this is a first generation German immigrant thing to pick, but it's certainly a second generation.
Or maybe somebody who started out in Germany and then went over with this entire business. I don't know, we can only speculate, but the Commissar is a German word and his first name is Kai, which is also a German name, but of course it's not only a German name, but the way it was spelled specifically in the subtitles, Kai, that is a very German name. Mm-hmm. So I got vibes. Anyways.
Yes, they were good vibes. I figured you were probably right about that. But yeah, we start off with Commissar Props because he has so kindly donated 2 props, which are the horns of Orcus that he made from resin, to be given away.
For certain subscriber milestones. Yes.
Aren't they also donated?
No, they don't. I'm not sure if they do donations, but these things are sent out to people who are active in the chat when certain milestones are hit.
I wonder where those horns are.
Me too. So if you, dear listener, acquired one of these horns from this thing, consider yourself lucky, and also maybe tell us about it.
Yeah, I want to know if the person who has them is still into Critical Role, or if they lost interest a while ago and now they just have them in a basement somewhere.
Yeah, Commissar Props is still making props from what I can recall. He goes by Yokai Props on Instagram now.
He does.
And he also runs Dystopian LARPs in Northern California, which, good for him.
Yeah, I think that, like, Yokai Props is probably a better name just because, like, his name is Kai, so it's like...
Oh! I just realized that, of course.
Yeah. I was like, why is there a Japanese word? And I was like, oh, because his name is Kai. Ah.
Yeah, I've been into, I've been contemplating getting into anime currently, so that I only realized, like, the Japanese name.
Mm-hmm. So, we start off with this intro with, like, the whole, like, prop giveaway.
Yeah, Matt is, like, taking extra long time to say this, and then Marisha is also on screen, and I'm just going to call him Kai, just stands there too.
Yes.
With, like... It's always kind of funny when they have people on camera who are not used to being on camera.
Yeah, they have, like, the mom, it's my turn on the Xbox stand. Mom said it's my turn on the Xbox. Kind of. Where they're just kind of standing very stiffly in front of the camera. Like, hi,
yeah,
hi.
But he does join into the pointing and the thumbs up gestures, and, like, he's a good sport about it.
He's a good sport.
Props to him.
Mm-hmm. He even talks a little bit. Which is more than I usually do when I'm on camera. I usually just kind of stand there.
And this is why this is a podcast and not a video essay series.
Yes. Otherwise I just, like, sort of freeze and I give them my crazy eye and it's not good. But yeah, this is a kind of an odd intro because, like, they play the intro theme twice.
They always play the intro theme twice when they also play the character intros, which they still do, even though they promised they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But in this case, they are actively stalling for time, because when we cut to the table, no one is there.
Nobody's there. This is one of those episodes where I was like, they really should have rescheduled this one.
Yeah, like, the startup was like 4 out of 8 people, sort of. I mean, they just have, so Orion is stuck in traffic.
Because it's California.
Sam is just not around.
He's not here.
Flat out.
No explanation given. He's busy.
Yeah, and Laura and Travis are calling in on Skype.
They're in Florida.
First instance of this in this campaign. They're in Florida at a convention. And they just have, like, this iPad on the table, or, like, was it a laptop or something? It had keys. So I don't really know whether it was an iPad or a laptop or something. You couldn't really tell. It's just there on the table.
And they're very excited about how well this is happening, and, like, it's going very well for them. And you're like, oh, babies.
Oh, we don't have a budget, huh?
No, this is definitely somebody's iPad.
Somebody just had that. This wasn't even, like... I mean, it's amazing from what kind of issues they have later on with Ashley calling in. That this worked as well as it did.
Yeah, and nowadays, like, I am really impressed with the setup that they have for, like, the remote calling in. I'm honestly kind of surprised that they don't use it more just because of how cool it is. Like, it feels like the closest to just having, like, a two-pack light projection.
I mean, I think if we went all full pandemic again, they could just do the episodes remotely, huh?
They could. They really could. They really could. Honestly, like, last time Ashley was coming in remotely, I fully forgot that she was remote. Like, her audio just sounds normal.
Which is a long shot from this one, where Laura starts out being too scared to talk, and Travis just does like funny faces at the camera and stuff, and then they just cut out, and you have to redial them.
Yeah, the redialing is really funny.
I mean, Liam fully just went on this mandate, as Marisha calls it, just so he can be the tech support guy on site.
Yeah.
That's actually not why this happened, but it kind of feels like it.
It does feel like. They talk about having friends across the coast who get up at 4 a.m. to watch the episode live.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Wonder what that's like.
Yeah. At certain points, Sam is not Skyping in, but he is texting in sometimes.
He texts Ashley specifically, and I think only once.
I think only once to be like, I want to get this, and then, like, never again, and they have to, like, interpret his, like, every word as though he's, like, an arcane presence who, like, has given them a single line of scripture that they have to interpret.
So in a way, Ashley is the perfect person to do that.
Yes. Cleric.
In character. Yeah, and then they talk about how the current publication schedule, which is still current, of airing this on Thursday, then the VOD being available to subscribers immediately, and then that going public live on YouTube on the Monday after that.
Yeah.
Though, funnily enough, when you look at the episode dates, is that this one was aired on June 11th, but only came to YouTube on, like, September 30th or something.
Yeah, sometimes, especially, like, because I remember they had, like, a couple things that they only tried once. Like, when they tried to, they posted one of the Riotwoods episodes in 2 parts.
They did that with 2 episodes, and one was a tech issue.
Yeah, and they never did that again.
I think they both were tech issues. Yeah, for reasons, because it wasn't very good.
Nope, it was not. It did not go well. But they do try things sometimes. Like, sometimes it just seems like it took them a very long time to clear out the backlog of VODs. So if you're not watching live, oh boy.
Oh boy. But nowadays all of this is settled and hasn't really changed much. Like, I mean, from the time I joined the fandom at around episode 69 to today, the system has stayed the same.
The only thing is that they don't play live anymore, which makes me very sad.
Yeah,
but
sad.
They do theoretically play on Thursdays still.
Yeah, just not live. Yes. Okay, so I think that's all of the out-of-game tidbits.
Yeah, that's all I can think of. For the time, at least.
I like Matt's shirt.
Yeah, there's not a lot of pizzazz in this one. Like, I can't think of anything special that we're doing other than the horn.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Everybody stay hydrated.
So where are we at?
I can tell you where we're not at.
The fucking Underdark?
The fucking Underdark. We are not there anymore.
So yeah, they're out of the Underdark. The party has a horn and a bag of holding, and Akima, who has been politely defrosted, and an invitation to the palace.
Politely. That too. And we're, like, in the kitchen during breakfast on the morning after.
Yes. Also, this... I'll talk about it more when it happens, but there was a cute thing about this. Like, they wake up kind of late, and we get kind of like a timeline of their morning, so we know that by... The episode really gets going at around 11 a.m.
Yeah, which is weird because we kind of acted all of this out last episode already. Like, they already had the breakfast and the telling Kima, and they just...
Which is why they spend, like, the first 5 minutes of the episodes just being like, okay, wait. So Kima's here. Yes, Kima's here. And she's not a statue. No, she's not a statue. And the horn... We told her that we have it. Yes, you did. But
not where we have it.
Yes, and it's in the bag of holding, which Grog has. Yes. So they spent like the first minutes...
But Grog isn't here because we sent him to the basement to pray about it or something. But Pike is getting him, and yeah.
They just spend like a couple minutes just kind of setting it up.
And during those couple of minutes, Orion arrives, kills the momentum dead, and makes everything about him.
Yeah, Orion just... I will say that
what we start with.
I kind of... enjoyed Orion's intro just because of, like, the sheer Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. I apologize.
Schande is also a word, but a different
one. The Schande Quorum, yes.
What?
I'm pretty sure that's something in Campaign 2. There's like a Schande Quorum or something.
Do you know what Schande means?
No.
It's like somewhere between shame and scandal.
Ooh, I love that. I'm gonna use that.
No, it's like very religiously connotated and like a Schande.
I like it. That's making it more sexy for me.
Okay, cool.
I don't get Catholic guilt. I'm sorry.
I don't even think this is like I think this is like the opposite of that.
It's like heretic guilt?
It's like being like, that's not cool about certain terms that sort of induce Catholic guilt.
Okay, it's being cringe.
That it is, but...
It's posting cringe on
not here for...
I feel a little bit of joy about this just because when Orion comes in and kills the atmosphere dead... Yeah. Marisha doesn't...
Dallas and Marisha give him such a hard time about it.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't do it in a way that makes everybody feel painful. They just kind of are, like, gently grilling him. And, like, yes.
And kind of being little shits about it.
I like it. Pin him to the cord, you guys. I love it.
Yes. This is like a two-pronged strike of one, like, Marisha being in character very earnest and kind of hurt that Tiberius would assume she would know where he went without telling her about it, which he didn't. He didn't tell anyone. He barely told the DM. Everyone was just like, you do what? Okay.
You can actually see that Matt is a little upset because, in addition to this, Tiberius bought a bag of holding that he didn't tell him about.
Apparently so. Like, Tiberius, there's this part where he, in character, asks Keyleth why he would tell them all about his movements, and, like, the simple answer to this is, because you took 500 gold from the party funds to do this without asking anyone.
Yeah. It also just has, like, such big, like, oh, I'm gonna grab my jet and, like, fly over to France so I can have, like, my favorite meal at my favorite restaurant and then I'll be back energy, you know? Like, he's just gone for a night.
He could have just gone shopping for a bag of holding in Iman, but man might have told him no, so he went for home, which he can totally do.
Yeah, he didn't even,
he
like,
just kind of
family
used
there?
Draconia as a rabbit hole to do what he wanted, which is against pretty much every D&D common courtesy at the table.
Yeah.
And also just a shitty thing to rob the party of 500 gold for.
Yes, they could have used that 500 gold to do so much. Like,
oh yeah. It's also extremely telling how when he explains why he got this, oh, so I can keep my mending wheel in my bag of holding. And it's like always his.
Yes.
And Keyleth is like, oh yeah, it would be good for the party to have another bag of holding, huh? And it's just...
no.
If this is your bag of holding for your mending wheel that is for nobody else and just for you, why didn't you pay for it with your own money?
Yes, good question. This is very much him taking his toys and saying that he gets to do what he wants with them, but also paying with it with party funds.
Yeah. I mean, can you just ask your awesome parents for slaver money or something?
Yeah, which feels even more the case because, like, he went to Draconia to get it. So, like, he couldn't even borrow money from his brother or whatever.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Just ask your parents.
And all of this is bookended by Taliesin making fun of how it looks like his bag of holding is made of Tiberius. Which, honestly...
yeah, because...
It honestly put me in, like, a rabbit hole of, like, oh, I wonder if you could, like, play with the idea of, like, Draconian, or, like, Dragonborn civilizations that, like, do something with their shed skin.
Yeah, I mean, you can apparently sell dragon scales, so why not dragonborn scales?
Yeah.
And also, is he just really offended at the notion of selling dragon parts because it's like selling parts of him? She thought about it for a minute.
Gross.
Also, like, saying, oh no, it's this wyvern skin instead
wyvern skin.
Dragonborn skin, and then you kind of got to asking, okay, so is it ethically more okay to do this to a wyvern than to a dragonborn?
Guess.
And what about the actual dragons who are very close to actual people, but I mean, okay, the ones we kill here were kind of bad, so many rabbit holes to go down here.
To eat a dragon? Good question.
I mean, nobody's eating anything here, so that's not cannibalism, but it is very much in like this very much goes into the same ethical places we usually go when we discuss if something is cannibalism.
It is,
so...
and I'm pretty sure that, like, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure at some point the Ravenites,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure they eat part of Vorgal. I'm pretty sure they eat Vorgal. I think they butcher him.
I remember this, that they also just harvested, like, scales and stuff from him
that might
afterwards,
be.
And they ate the jerky that Grog threw out of the bag of holding.
That might be it, yeah. That seems more like it. Because now I was thinking, like, I wonder if a Dragonborn eats a dragon, is that more cannibalism than if a human eats a dragon?
So would a wyvern skin bag be like those lamp shades made of human skin?
Ugh, yeah, probably.
I mean, not quite, but would it be like those lampshades made out of monkey skin? Do those exist, but like in an equivalent?
Something like that, or like something made out of human bone. Like, that'd be kind of upsetting.
Do we have to add body horror to this now?
Oh, for sure. But we basically already have it in every episode, so, you know. At some point, they talk about the wyverns being part of the Draconian Air Force, which...
That's what I woke up to today.
Yeah, because I was telling you about how hilarious it is to me. I'm right now rereading some parts of the Queen's Thief series, which is a very good series of books that sort of very clearly the author in question has a lot of research about Greek history and the kind of the Greek peninsula and things like that. And they talk so much about, like, how much infrastructure it takes to just, like, move an army of regular non-fantasy things. Mm-hmm. And then he said, like, oh, yeah, the Draconian army is 500 strong. And
500 standing. He doesn't say how many could be raised, but if you have only 500 people standing and 200 flying, no wonder the city fell so easily.
It's not an army. That is a troop of mercenaries. That's a big troop of mercenaries. And a 200...
Not even that big. It's not even that big for a troop of mercenaries.
It's not even that big. It's like the Myrmidons and the Iliad. It's not that many people. Does that count slaves, though, as you've written? Probably not. It's probably another 1,000 slaves.
I think, the thing was that the slaves went to fight for the dragon who was killing them all, so, I
bet that they didn't have a say in it, because they are slaves.
That kind of is how that goes, huh?
Yep. And then Orion proceeds to try to... Well, I guess Tiberius tries to haggle with Scanlan about items, to which...
Yeah, the stupid Ion Stone.
Yeah, Matt immediately shuts it down this time. By being like, no, you can't trade with someone who's not at the table.
Yeah, and it's he gets very close to being rude to Tiberius for trying.
Yes.
Which would be justified. It is very rude that he's even trying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
think we're going to see a lot of moments of Matt just slowly getting a little passive-aggressive in ways he usually isn't.
Yeah. It's just that he's constantly pushing his luck and doing it more and more frequently. And you can just kind of tell that people are starting to get very tired of it. I feel like in this point in time, they still haven't forgotten the whole
B-plot he insisted on having with the big boss fight, because he didn't want to die, and going down with a party? Who does that?
Yeah, so him wandering off and doing his own things feels like it's judged a lot more, frankly.
Which it should be.
No, yeah, I don't want to say that it's just judged harshly. It's it's taken with much more gravitas than it would have been without it.
No, if anything, if somebody, pulls out after all of the things they've been through at this point in time, that's when you start keeping them at arm's length.
Yes.
In these kinds of party settings and stuff.
Yeah.
At some point in this episode, he's we had no idea how to fight the Beholder, and no, you had a very good idea how to fight the Beholder. The fight actually went really, really, really well.
Yeah.
Because people talked about it in their tactics and stuff. I mean, it makes sense in character that you would know about this because you just fucked off to do main character shit elsewhere. But the fight was actually very carefully planned and played out pretty perfectly.
Yes. So this is followed by Trevor saying dirty words into the iPad.
Yeah. Yeah, after Talos makes the call that, Percy does that after eating, it's time to politic. Not quite yet, but yes.
Yeah.
Then we go back to Tibbs because he has the audacity to be like, oh yes, and I take 500 more gold for the party funds to replace the ones I lost. And
it feels also kind of weird to me that he's doing this specifically when Laura's not at the table, because Laura's the one keeping track of the party funds.
The thing is, he acts like this wouldn't even concern Vex or Laura.
Yes.
They just have a vault of treasure, and it's also an end. He talks about their money like this later on too. They just have this limitless supply of money now that they all can just grab stuff out of without asking first. Which I mean, if that's in character, which I doubt, but if it was in character, that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't know. Once again, I always feel like these are the kinds of encounters that make you feel like Tiberius is the anti-Percy.
Oh, yeah.
Because, Percy's also such a rich boy who doesn't want to deal with money, but the way that he does it is he appeals to Vex and goes, money, please. Money, please?
But only as much as I need, exactly. I don't need pocket change, just buy me this.
Can I have...
With money, please.
It's very much just asking for pocket change so he can make pretty things for Vex, and he's very good about it.
Yes.
So they go visit Allura. And this is the part that I found kind of...
They do.
Before we get into the gross parts, this is the part that I found kind of cute. As I mentioned, we kind of have a good timeline of what's happening here. Tiberius arrives at around 11, and everyone else is already awake and had breakfast. And when they go knock on Laura's door, she answers it, and she's kind of sleep-rumpled, like they woke her up. And at this point, it's already noon, and I just was like, "Oh, my baby." She's.
I feel so seen.
Yeah, she was still probably lying in bed scrolling her phone. I don't know. I was very endeared by this.
Yeah.
She's not an early riser.
I was less endeared by the fact that they all refer to this as going ringing Allura's bell and just. Vax was gross, Tibbs was gross, Grok was gross.
Everybody was
Taliesin was not gross about it.
Taliesin was not gross. Taliesin was fine about this.
Taliesin's very respectful. Taliesin's the one who over hands are doing just dance dances.
Yes.
While everyone else is just touching him.
Yeah, so they go visit Allura's tower, which is the last time they saw it was destroyed. This is gonna be a recurring threat with Allura's tower.
We didn't see it, but the last time the party saw it.
Yes. And now it's up, and it's Allura's ivory tower. Yes, you're highlighting the part that I woke you up with by saying Allura's first action in the campaign is to give warm boob hugs to everyone in the party, which I found to be such a stark difference from the animated show.
Yeah, because they have like a relationship and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And also she's just literally going around giving everybody hugs. Like literally every person in the party.
Also Stream Allura is like warm and friendly.
Yeah.
Whereas a TV show Allura is she's Vivian from Dragon Age Inquisition. She just is.
Yeah. And Emma,
like I don't really see that person giving anybody warm boob hugs.
And I'm trying very hard not to objectify Allura just because everybody else is already doing it. But I will say that I would very much like a just woken up hug from Allura too. It's very cute.
But what you wouldn't do is hold her there longer than she wanted to against her will.
I would appreciate the warm boob hug for as long as she is comfortable to provide it, and then I would politely let other people take hugs too. And she's very happy to see you.
And then of course after they do the round of hugs, and there's like this entire spiel Matt goes into about how they're just looking at each other, and then they just run at each other and hug, and Allura twirls her around, and everyone is like, "Oh!" And then while Matt is saying the words "strong bond of friendship,"
gal pals,
Tiberius/Orion does the one good thing he has ever done for the entirety of the campaign, and is very put out because, Matt just gal palled them, and even he got the slightly sapphic undertones of that.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of 2 times in which Allura forgets that she's a wizard, and is able to pick up Kima. So, like, you know.
I will say that picking up people, especially tiny people, is actually not that hard.
It's kind of hard, but okay.
But she is wearing full plate mail armor.
If they're in plate mail armor, and if they're a halfling, if they're dense, yes. But it is nice.
Halflings are not the dense ones. Dwarves are the dense ones. Halflings are not dense.
This is a reference to something that Pastias Lily says a lot. Halflings are corgis with pretensions.
That is a good line, but
Corgis are pretty dense, though.
Yeah, not sure I would agree with that.
That's a discussion for a later time. But yes, I genuinely think that, like, probably the whole Kima and Allura plot would have never happened if it wasn't for the fact that Orion made such a fucking shit about it. Like,
yep, and then the way he left, and with the fan art back in the day, and then Matt was like, yeah, fuck
I'm
you.
I'm doubling down.
They're lesbians now.
They're lesbians now.
They're lesbians.
Yes. This episode also feels like kind of a solidification of the fact that Kima is very much a lesbian. Like, if it wasn't before, it is now.
Oh yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
That was like the worst moment of this episode.
Yeah.
Oh god.
She's just like,
We'll get there. I have thoughts. I have so many thoughts about that moment specifically.
Anyway, so they get tea from Allura, and while they're getting tea from Allura...
Yeah. Everyone starts making jokes about the carpet that's no longer there. Like, Kima starts it. And this would be the point where people should have noted that Kima is very cool about the fact that she knows that they just totally robbed Allura.
Yeah, and Allura also knows that she robbed Allura. The thing that I have always felt about it is that it feels very much like when you, like, lend, like, a DVD to your friends, and they never give it back, and, like, every time you're at their house, you just, like, look at that DVD, and you're like,
The thing is, if you lend somebody a DVD, you at least at some point agreed to give it to them. In this case, they just took the carpet, and Allura knows they took the carpet, but they never really asked her if they could keep it.
Yes.
Like, Allura might have just said yes, like, she's apparently very okay with them having the carpet for now. But they still totally stole from a character that they are very close friends with right now, which...
Also, burning...
Going by consistent application of the law, alignment drops for everyone.
You're right, it is alignment drops for everyone. They stole from your friend.
They stole from a person they are on way better terms with than the guy who made Kiki's Dead Relatives dance for him.
Yeah. Also, I don't think you can, like, burn a copy of a flying carpet, which you definitely can with a DVD.
True.
But yes, I do find it kind of, it's funny. It's definitely alignment drops and it's definitely shady, but I do really like that Allura knows that they took her carpet and is just being cool about it.
Oh, you were so clever the way you stole that cookie that I totally didn't see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like when you put, like, a treat in, like, when you put, like, a pill for an animal in a treat and then you, like, leave it in a place where they feel like they stole it. And it's like, yeah. Yeah, you stole it. Mm-hmm.
How dare you? How dare you eat that? I didn't want you to do that.
I'm so mad that you took...
So mad.
You took your antibiotics. I don't have any experience with this. What are you talking about?
Vax just goes and rolls an inside check on Allura for literally nothing, just in general.
Just checking the vibes.
Checking the vibes.
And the vibe is that she just woke up.
Mm-hmm. And then she uses Mage Hand to make them all tea in her kitchen, which is just like the dream.
It's so cute.
Can I have a Mage Hand do chores for me?
I was like, I'm not too proud to admit that I was like, kind of made emotional by this whole thing, just because it had been so long since, like, I'd seen, like, Campaign 1 Allura, and, like, not Legend of Vox Machina Allura, and I forgot how sweet she is. She's so sweet.
She's so nice.
Mm-hmm.
She likes them so much. She's just so polite.
Mm-hmm.
And so domestic.
Yeah, she just wants everyone to hang out at her house. It's nice.
And she's part of the magic Illuminati.
Mm-hmm. And once again, you do already get the feeling that this is, like, Matt's way of playing with the party. Not as much as it will come later, but, like, it's just the same. Allura and Matt have, like, very similar vibes of just, like, kind of a chill friend.
Literally a self-insert. Him and his wife.
They give her, like, a short rundown of what happened in... Well, I mean, Vax tries to... This is also recurring throughout this episode, is Vax attempting to give a rundown of what happened, and you realize very quickly that Vax doesn't have a full idea of what happened.
Oh, yeah, this is going to come in even worse when they try to recount it to the council, but, yeah, they don't really have the full information, and also Vax/Liam aren't really best at remembering details.
Yeah, which is I mean, like, I think it's valid. I just think that this is something where, like, Keyleth should have been the one to recount, because, like, Marisha keeps notes. But
Keyleth might have framed Kima a little bit unflatteringly.
Yeah, but still, like, so Vax is trying to explain that, like, and he explains it a lot like somebody trying to explain a dream that they had.
Which, to be fair, is kind of how this entire section feels.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, we were down there, and there were these illithids, and then we made a friend with an illithid, but then that friend betrayed us, and we fought an evil god. No, it wasn't actually an evil god. It was like a beholder with a god complex.
A very loaded god complex, yes.
A loaded beholder, cock it and pull it.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I also just remembered, because it's in the notes, is that when they kind of vague about the carpet that they totally stole from Allura, this is also a moment where Tiberius was just like, yeah, you all plummet to your death, I'm just gonna fuck off and fly home by myself outside of here. Bye.
Cool party behavior. Cool thing to do to your party members.
Yeah, which is actually something you can find online to this day as, like, the videos that Liam himself kind of published of that segment.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they had, like, video of everything else, but
believe it or not,
that.
It's also a Persalia moment.
They figure the carpet out together, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, like, I think Laura figures it out, if I remember correctly, and, like, essentially, like, she swoops in and, like, saves Percy and Trinket.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, technically a Versailles moment. she a whole new world him.
I don't remember it well enough to confirm or deny that, but it sounds cool.
I'll send it to you after the episode.
I can look it up myself.
After the episode. It's kind of hard to follow, though, because everyone has somehow worse table manners.
Everyone is just yelling, and it's hard to keep track of what's going on.
It's like, roll for initiative, please. Please roll for initiative. Because it's always so hard to keep track of, like, non-combat encounters where everybody's trying to do everything all at once.
Yeah. Anyway.
After Vax confusingly tries to explain that they were fighting a god, but also not a god, but also they have the horn now, Allura agrees that they need to get rid of this horn somehow.
Uh-huh.
She pulls money out of the void.
She does. She pays them 10k, if I recall correctly.
I think so, yeah, 10k, which is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it kind of is adequate to what actually happened to them, but since Allura only assumed they would have to go to Crackhammer and find Kima there, it's what they agreed to.
Yeah, and for the record, like, I think that we have kind of an inflation problem where, like, they spend so much money at the start of the episode, like, the end of the episode, that the money they get in the start of the episode doesn't feel like that much. But, like, 10,000
money in this entire campaign is just so fucking weird.
Yeah, 10k gold is pretty sizable. It'll get you a lot, like, in normal circumstances.
I think this is another, like, conversion issue in that 10k in D&D is big money. 10k in Pathfinder might be not as much money.
It's entirely possible. It is big money, though. And also, yeah, like, she only really promised to them. She basically sent them on a fetch quest, and it was not her fault that they ended up being on a much more involved quest.
True, yeah.
She just said, please get my friend back. I don't know where she is. Could you go to the mall and find my halfling?
Somebody paid me 10k for that. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. She basically sent them on a private eye mission. She didn't send them on a combat mission. And also, for her, you know, I'm gonna defend her and say that, like, they were also promised money from... Thunderbrands. So after all of this...
Okay, they kind of, like... Tiberius shares information about who or what Orcus is, and, like, the Horn of Orcus, and information he shared with Kima when Kima was the one who told them that's what was happening. And that was stupid, but it's not the stupidest thing he's going to say during this conversation. Then they have, like, a very circular conversation about whether or not they can trust the council with this information, which, like, pointing out that the Sovereign is very corruptible and has been so in the past and will be so in the future is actually an excellent point, but, well, I also don't, like, much like Allura, I really don't see the alternatives they have right now.
Yeah, and that's sort of how they come to at the end, too, is like, well, we don't really have any other options.
Yeah, they don't really, I mean, like, the thing is that after,
yeah, Tiberius suggested they put it in the bag of holding and then destroy the bag of holding.
Which is just, like, you can, like...
Those don't grow on trees, Tiberius.
I mean, Allura implies they kind of do, but also that's not how that works.
She implies that she makes them on the weekends as a hobby, which is also very cute.
She did that as a child, yes.
And still does. It's like knitting for her.
Yes, I mean, I will say that the bag of holding is, like, technically the most common item, because every D&D party ever gets one.
Yeah, but just because, like, I like to think of it as, you know, like the gel packets that you put in stuff to, like, keep them air freshened or things like that, where it's just, like, a very, like, an everyday mundane thing, that is also very dangerous.
But this is a pretty good comparison, yes.
Yeah, like, you don't think about it.
Like, the issue here is very much that, Orion did read the blurb about how Bag of Holding works, but didn't really finish reading it or didn't absorb the part where, no, it doesn't go into a void, it goes into the astral sea, which is full of things you really, really do not want to have this horn, including, I believe, a few beholders.
Yeah, this is why you're not supposed to put a bag of holding inside of a bag of holding, because I'm pretty sure that tears a hole into the astral sea.
I'm pretty sure you make a black hole with that, yes.
Yeah, and then, like, just sort of projects you and everything that you own into the astral sea, which isn't a void, it's full of many things. Allura stresses this.
It's space is the thing. Space with space pirates. It's not
just space. It's, yeah, like you said, it's space with space pirates. It's not just a void where you hope that nothing will find it. If you throw something into the astral sea, something will find it.
And, like, during this entire conversation where Tiberius reveals his master plan, you can see that Matt is struggling.
He's struggling. He's trying so hard not to interrupt.
Matt and Allura are struggling very hard not to use very insulting terms to describe what Tiberius is currently suggesting.
You are like a little baby.
You are so far out of your depth, you didn't even finish reading that text, huh? Or, like, you looked up one thing, but when it said Astral Sea, you were just like, oh, I don't know what that is, and I don't need to know. And didn't Google that one for a bit.
Tiberius is an interesting character in that, like, the vibe that he always gives me is
Yes.
it feels like Orion was going for like an obfuscating stupidity kind of person, where he's like, he's not an actual idiot, he just appears to be an idiot. But like, the problem is
He's
that he's not...
befuddled, but he is very smart, but he is just not very smart.
Yeah, that's the problem. It feels like somebody trying to do that character, but like, they didn't actually put any thought of like how to play a smart character. So then, like, you get into these situations where he's like, I'm gonna reveal my intelligence. And it's like, well,
Dude.
well, you see, that's a stupid idea.
That is really dumb, and you would know that if you had just finished reading the description of the item.
Yes.
Yes. Then they discussed that one of the safety measures for this would be to erase memories about where they kept the horn, or where it is, or the horn in general, which Keith is very uncomfortable about. And Allura is like, oh, I will have to ask the Arcana Pensophical about this, whether this is allowed, because apparently memory manipulation is not allowed.
It's not allowed. Remember when this was considered, like, forgotten magics that are very, very, like, tightly controlled and not allowed?
Yeah, I remember this in this exact episode, and then I was plagued by the thought of, like, so is Scanlan wanted for breaking the law by the magic Illuminati?
Oh yeah, Scanlan, like, did war crimes. Don't worry about it.
I mean, he did those too, but also, the whole... I mean, Sam is not at the table when they are informed that this is ancient forbidden magic that was sealed off.
Just never watched it.
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly, just never watched
It's
the episode.
not like
where
Matt
they're, like...
enforces that rule, is it?
No, but also, like, I will say that when he tries it on Kima, like, doesn't say, this is illegal, don't do this. Anyway, then Matt says some slurs.
Yeah, Matt says some slurs casually, and then Orion repeats those slurs and makes them really slurry slurs.
Yeah, these are slurs for the Roma people.
They're anti-Ziganist slurs specifically that at least I was aware of being slurs in 2015.
Yeah, I seem to recall the same. Though we probably didn't take them as seriously then, but we were definitely aware of them being slurs.
Yeah, I mean, there are still slurs that are happily said in Disney movies, but usually to be meant as a slur, actually.
Yes.
So, complicated.
Yeah, it's also used in really poor context. Like, it's not just that they use the slur.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Like, they didn't accidentally use this to describe, like, an aesthetic or something. No, they used it to describe people they very specifically had a problem with.
Yes. Essentially marauders who have come over from Wild Mountain are now causing havoc, which is like,
It's like Allura says in a neutralish tone, and then Tiberius curses at them without knowing the details, and it's like, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
So yeah, Keyleth is not okay with the memory manipulation. They kind of put it on hold to say, like, maybe it's necessary, but let's not pull the trigger.
Yep.
And then Allura mentions Sildor.
Yeah, there were some dealings and some trade stuff, and it's apparently going well, so hey, cool.
Daddy who wasn't home.
I think I'm ethically opposed to calling Sildor daddy.
Father who wasn't home. Rather, father who
Even
was
that
home.
is stretching it.
He's daddy issue. He's the daddy in daddy issues.
No, I'm ethically and morally opposed, and don't ask me where the difference is.
I'm gonna stop talking before, like, I get served, like, a nice lawsuit for some of this. Not even by Jana. At this point, I think I'm just gonna be, like, served it by, like, The Hague.
You're going to be served this lawsuit by the real life incorporation of the twins.
Yes.
Not even the actors, just their spirit.
Yeah, they're gonna come into this and, like, obviously, like, I honestly think that Vex might be the only person who can represent herself legally and win, but, she probably has a lawyer.
Vex should be a lawyer, let's be real.
She should be, but she probably
I feel
has
very strongly about this. But she would be a very different kind of lawyer than what I want to be.
Yeah.
But she would also be smart enough to actually hire a lawyer, because a lawyer who represents himself as a fool for a client.
Yes, I agree. I think that, I almost said Laura. I think that Vex is the only person who could successfully represent herself legally, but I think that she also wouldn't.
She would know better than to do so, yes.
She would just get a lawyer. And just be like, no, this is a bad idea. Could I do it? Yes. Should she do it? No. So the council. They arrive at the council. Everybody is
So what do you think of the headline I gave this section?
The Council of Foreshadowed Insignificance? I think it's a great name for the council.
Kind of sums up this entire section, doesn't it?
Yeah, they don't actually do that much. They don't really come to any decision that they didn't already come to.
They don't, and none of these people are going to really matter.
But
one of these people is going to matter, maybe outside of Allura and Kima, and not even as himself.
Not even as himself. Though I do think that Awesome is... Sorry, Assume. They call her in this episode Awesome, but every other episode they call him Assume.
And Assume just sounds better.
Yeah, Secret Awesome sounds like Channel Awesome, and that gives me bad vibes. Bad memories.
Yeah.
Yes. Here they go to the council meeting, la-di-da-di-da, and they meet all the various people whose names we'll hear a lot, but we'll never really get to know as people.
Yeah, seriously. Like, Vox Machina has been on this council like twice before, apparently, but they never really met the members, so...
Yeah, and there's some new members, because one of them, I think, died.
One of them was like a dragon and got killed.
Yes, one of them was a dragon, which is funny, because they talk about him as though he was a victim of said dragon, and it occurs to me that I don't know if the rest of the council knows.
Hard to say. I mean, they should. They make more, like, We don't know, actually.
We do not know. We do not know.
Yeah, so,
So Lord Doxio is there. If I remember correctly, his son designed?
Nope, him.
Him. Okay.
Himself. He's like the shifty dude we sift through tunnels for briefly between arcs later on.
Yes. And he's...
Oh, maybe he's the son, and his father is the...
Is his father the one who designed the Castle Grayskull? Or Grayskull Keep, actually?
I'm pretty sure he's the one who designed the Castle Grayskull, and like Grayskull Keep. Mm-hmm. He was the one who got them the castle, so that, because this was specifically designed for them, but I mean, everything that came from that as a subplot was kind of skipped already in the cartoon, so whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, he's there, he's shifty. Tofor Botoros is there. I will admit this about Tofor. If I was into Dragonborn, I would go for it. Like, she sounds hot.
I agree.
If you're into that.
I agree. She's tall, she's thick. They literally say that.
Mm-hmm. She's tall, she's thick, she hates Siberia. What else do you want in a woman?
She probably... Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, she also appears to have some religious guilt, trauma, struggle stuff.
Yeah, she's very Catholic.
But I mean, at least Bahamut is like a cool god.
Yeah, as opposed to Vex's various Catholic
every
gods.
other god we meet. Yeah, God, Vex's eventual god is so playing into everything.
Yes. I like Bahamut because we never meet him.
Yeah, he did get to be a dick to the party in the last arc of his campaign, so we kind of like him.
Yeah, it's like a never meet your hero situation, like the best god is the god you never meet.
I mean, to be fair, I think we still like Melora, right?
Did we meet Melora?
Sort of! She was there, she did nice things for Ford that Ford then ignored and took more levels in Warlock.
Yeah, but we never went to her house and visited her, is the thing.
She kind of interrupted his nightmares at some point. It was very hands-on action.
It's hands-on, but like, I think that the main thing for me is like, if a god acts from beyond the divine... Like, the divine gate, they're usually pretty cool, but as soon as you go to their house and meet them, they tend to be an asshole.
Yeah, true.
Raven Queen?
Anyways.
Dick.
So the first thing Tofor says is that Tiberius should get away from her after he says he's from Draconia and introduces himself, and instead of asking her what the problem is, which I'm not sure whether Orion knows what the problem is, he just immediately gets mean and starts and tells her to mind her tongue, calls her a peasant for the rest of the encounter, like... Oh boy.
You start this encounter by thinking that maybe Tofor is, like, prejudiced against, I don't know...
The Dragonborn?
The Dragonborn, and then you realize very quickly, based on, like, exclusively Orion's behavior, not even in context, just like, oh no, she's in the right.
Yeah, no, she's right here, and then later on you know what this is really about, and it's like,
She's extra in the right here, fuck this guy.
And just everyone, I had a sudden influx of my Catholic upbringing and started crossing myself Just because I'm so relieved we never had to see Orion deal with the slavery stuff.
Oh,
God.
bless.
God.
Thank God.
Literally.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Doing it
no.
again.
It would have been so fucking bad. It already is kind of bad, but, like, at least this way we don't have to deal with anyone learning that slavery is bad, actually.
Oh. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Imagine how badly that could have gone. Or don't. Oh.
Don't. You'll give yourself
Ugh.
psychic damage. Anyway.
So much psychic damage this episode, it's amazing.
Yes. Assume is there.
Yeah, and he tries to calm them down. He mostly tries to calm Tofor down because she reacted emotionally and Tiberius only reacted emotionally after her, which is like, ain't that a microcosm right there? Unintentionally so, but...
Assume. Reinforcing the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the hierarchy. Just, the person who's more emotionally upset is obviously the one in the wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's how that works. How dare she be upset to have escaped slavery that his family perpetuates.
Yes. Though a little bit that I actually kind of like Seeker Assume in other moments. I think that he has like a fun thing with Vex.
Oh yeah, they do have a thing later on.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
He teaches her to sneak around.
Yes.
We'll talk about it.
Yes, he does.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated.
Arbiter Brahm.
It's such a weird name.
Because it's a German word?
It isn't.
It isn't.
Barely. It just barely isn't. Braum, B-R-A-U-M, isn't. But if it was braun, B-R-A-U-N, that would be the color brown.
Ah,
or if it was baum, B-A-U-M, that would be a tree, like in all the Jewish names. And that would be a German word. But Braum just isn't. But it looks German. And it's weird.
Just like everything German in Critical Role, it looks German, but it's not.
Some things get really sadly close. I'm still not over Volstrecker.
Yeah.
So close to the
That's
actual
the one
word.
I was thinking about, too.
So close. It was so cool. It could have been so cool, but no, it was the actual word. Makes no difference.
Yeah. Everyone takes a seat except for Tiberius, and, like, nobody reacts to this. It's just like, okay, cool flex. Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm. Does he have it? He's the one with a tail, right?
Yes.
Can he even sit?
I think he can sit because he sits in other circumstances.
True.
And, like,
True.
presumably there are tieflings in this world also, but...
But tiefling tails are less hefty than dragonborn tails.
Yeah, they're less load-bearing. But yeah, it's just... He just makes a point of standing up, and everyone's just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care for this.
Mm-hmm.
We
have important plot stuff to foreshadow now.
Knock yourself out, my bro. More important stuff to foreshadow.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sovereign Uriel is currently in the process of getting information on a family called the Briarwoods.
Yes.
Tell us in blue screens for a bit.
He does. It's very much just...
He was so excited to get into politicking, and then he just kind of has to tune himself out for a second.
He's so good at this, though. He's just...
Oh, he is.
You just watch him sit back, and he doesn't say anything, but he's just, in space for a while, thinking, did I mishear that? Am I hallucinating? Is this a nightmare?
Is Matt doing this to me?
And yes, Matt is doing it to him.
Matt is doing it to you, as you get like another 10 episodes or so of reprieve. Exactly, actually. Yeah, no immediate reaction. It takes until the end of this because Percy is fucking smart about these things. He doesn't have immediate emotional outbursts.
Yes. Ahem, Legend of Vox Machina. Yes. Seeker Assume already knows what this is about. But
I have no idea what this line means in this. I have no idea what he actually does. I don't remember anything. I just wrote it in this morning and it's like it's there. I don't know if Seeker Assume knows.
I think it means the Briarwoods because, like, I'm pretty sure Seeker Assume
right
has already done
recon on them.
Yes, because he essentially just approaches Vox Machina after this and is like, "Hey guys, this is shady."
So these people do not pass the vibe check.
Yeah, which makes sense to me, just because I think that at this point I'm skipping ahead, but based on other interactions, you kind of get the sense that these things don't pass a sniff check,
Not if you have, a perception score worth mentioning, which Uriel does not.
No, he doesn't.
Canon trait, really easily influenced.
Yes. But for the time being, Liam and or Vax has to recount what happened in more detail, and the more he talks about this, the more it feels like a dream that he's telling.
Yeah, and then it doesn't really help when Tiberius chimes in. So first of all, the way Vax frames this is already everyone has completely and entirely forgotten that we established last episode via Kima that there is actually little to no threat for the surface from Illithid, because they don't care for the daylight, they don't care to go further than maybe Crackhammer, and even that's already stretching it.
Yeah, I do agree with Vax that warning Crackhammer is important, just because
yes,
there's some Illithid coming.
They might be upset, maybe. And then what's really hilarious, if you have like more than a passing knowledge of D&D lore, which admittedly these people didn't and would never have to because they don't play with D&D lore much or anything, is that Vax seems completely and entirely taken aback by the fact that there's an entire city in the Underdark. And I've recently fallen down the rabbit hole and watched some really fun short summary videos of additional modules and read parts of Out of the Abyss, the official core book about the Underdark, where there's there's 4 to 5 cities in the Underdark. They have an entire...
There's nothing but cities.
No, there's also mushroom places and lakes and
Which city in the Underdark? You have to be specific, sweetheart.
Is it the one with the bad dwarves, with the bad elves, with the bad halflings? No, not halflings, with the bad gnomes? The one with the mushrooms? One of the trading outposts that could be a city eventually? Anything else?
Yes.
There's a bunch of
those.
Is
it the Underdark, or the Underdark, or the Dark Underdark? Just... the
Overdark, basement, middle basement, subterranean, mezzanette. Yeah, no, luckily the source book wasn't out for this, and luckily Matt didn't make them deal with the entire established Underdark lore ever, because oh my god, we would never be out of there. I think we talked about this last episode too, when I was already into this. Because, this Out of the Abyss manual raises someone from level 1 to 15, and you see daylight once, and this is an entirely feral party. Oh god.
Yeah, I maybe talked about this too. But yeah, there's a part in which, as Vax is explaining this, Matt describes the entire council just looking confused and question mark at him. And bravely, Vax assumes that they don't know what an illithid is, which I think is not the response that I had. The response that I had is, nobody has any idea what you're talking about because you sound insane.
Yeah, and remember when we said in the session 0 that we would try to avoid talking about Orion and Tiberius as much as we can?
Yeah.
I think we're holding to that, so hard. But also I think we can't really avoid talking about him.
Yes, because he makes himself the main character so much.
And he is, again, okay. He goes in and when they talk about Kvarn again, Narf, whatever, Raf,
yes.
Yeah, he's no, there was a demi-demon or something, which beholders are not. Not even when they're wearing evil god party hats. They're
aberrations.
Demon means something in this. It's a category of something.
Yeah, and I'm quite bad at this because I often say this in D&D. When I'm playing D&D, I always forget that a demon is a specific thing and a devil is a specific thing, and they have very specific allegiances. A devil is not a demon is not a devil.
Mm-hmm. They're actually at each other's throats, and they get different dimensions. Some are in the abyss, others are in hell.
And I do have this happen to me where I'll be we're here to slay a demon, and then someone will have to be no, we're here to slay a fiend. That's a different thing.
No, fiend. Fiend's actually both of them. That's where they're connected. Yes. They're fiend. Both of them are fiend, and on the paladin radar, they both register as fiends. Fiendish.
Yeah. So normally I wouldn't be as annoyed by this just because it's a mistake that I make myself all the time, but also because it's already such a confusing situation in which Vax is saying that we fought an evil god, but no, it's actually a horn of an evil god, and then Tiberius comes in and he's it's a demi-demon, and it's just God, these people are so
You're
confused.
Not helping and even more wrong. Well, kind of. Is he more wrong? Is he less wrong? I don't know. Wrong is wrong. They're both wrong. He's just wearing an evil god's party hat.
Yeah, and at some point it just seems so confusing to their audience that it's the more intervention, the more terms are being thrown around. It just I are they talking about something, like, if I was in the council, I'd probably be like, so are they talking about something that happened?
Is this a
Are they
dream?
talking
Is this a fan fiction? Is he pitching a novel right now?
Are they talking about something they saw happen?
Is this a vision?
Are they talking about a vision?
Did they
Like,
get
did
really,
Kima
really
do
high on the bed
this?
push?
Did they take mushrooms down there? I don't know. But eventually they come to a semi-understanding.
When Kima speaks up for them, which they kind of didn't deserve.
Yes, thank you, Kima. Thank you, GM, for stepping in as Kima and being like, okay.
And she's so...
What they thought was a beholder.
She has so many nice things to say about the party that they just really did not earn in their treatment of her.
They didn't.
Really did not.
But she just saw daylight for the first time, and
Yeah.
she got hugged by Allura.
Yeah.
She called her Allie. She had tea. She's in a good place.
Does she even know that they took her statue pub crawling with them?
She doesn't.
For the better,
doesn't.
probably.
Yeah. She's in, like, she's in the post, like, when you're happy, you just have a migraine, and then you have the feeling after a migraine.
Oh yeah, just when the pain starts leaving.
Yeah. That's exactly where Kima is right now. She's in, like, the semi-addictive high that comes after a migraine.
Or when you had a really allergic reaction and get the EpiPen.
Yes, and it's like, oh, everything's okay now. Everything's gonna be okay. It's all over. And this won't last very long, but for now it's nice.
Yeah.
At some point in the episode, she talks about being tortured, and she just sounds like it completely has not sunken in for her
Yeah,
yet.
even they talk about faith later on for a little bit. She just mentions that, and then it's just gonna be a really fun moment when she's like, yeah, and sometimes faith leads you there, but also out of there. And then Kira's just like, so when I feel unfocused, I just take a walk in the forest. And which hasn't gotten her tortured yet, so I think she wins this one.
She wins this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much just like Kima's in the happy place where the bad thing has ended, and not quite yet in the bad place where everything sinks in. So she says a lot of very nice things about them, talks them up a little bit,
Yep.
basically does an explanation of what happened and what might happen, which is, hey, we have this horn and it influences people.
Yeah, and then to summarize this is that they basically agree that they should get rid of the horn and destroy it or steal it, and eventually they get to where they talk about Othensia, which at first confused me because I didn't recognize the name, because we either hear Vasselheim or Isilra, but it turns out Isilra is the continent, Othensia is the country, and Vasselheim is the capital of that country.
Yeah, which always honestly kind of makes me sad if we don't have a campaign 4, which I suspect that we won't. I don't know how they feel about
I
it.
think it's too early to call.
Too early to call. But Matt has said that he only has like 1 or 2 big campaigns left in him. It kind of makes me sad because we never had a campaign in that continent or that country, and I was always really interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of, you can make the argument that kind of
it's
the
strangely vast.
few thing at least happened mostly above that continent.
Sure, but like the whole point of like that entire continent is that it's strangely vast to me, and vast and kind of empty in a very interesting way. It's like it's a country and a continent, and there are things there, but it's not very densely populated, and if I remember correctly, there's only a few cities. Like, Vasselheim is like the big place there. That's kind of the only place they go.
Yeah, I mean, Vasselheim is very much when you kind of dig into this, you realize that Vasselheim might just as well be a city-state.
Yeah, and it feels like a city-state.
Which is a little bit weird, because we know for a fact that this is the only place where people survived during the Divergence. Yes. And then they just went from there to settle other places. I looked that up today because I looked into the Arcana Pensophical. And they just went from there and settled other places more densely, which also means that Taldor should have a big incest problem.
Yes, big incest problem. Big incest. Though I guess it does help that they have so many different, species of humanoids.
Sort of.
Anyway, big genetic bottleneck. Anyway, Percy rolls a natural one.
They're rolling inside checks. Percy goes for Uriel, everyone else goes for actual people who are talking during this. Percy rolls a 1 during this, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. Vex does
not know how to interpret this.
Yeah, Vex is the only one to actually succeed on the check. It doesn't really mean anything because everyone in this room, except for maybe Daxio, but he's not participating right now, is actually kind of trustworthy, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, nobody wants this horn right now. Everyone just kind of wants it.
Well, I think one dude, is that Daxio or is that, Brom? I think it's Brom, right?
I don't quite remember. It might be Brom. I think he wants to basically experiment.
He wants to
with
give it to the Lyceum with all the arcane casters to study, which feels like, okay, coming off of EXQ is like, we're giving wizards specifically a little much too freedom what they could study and work with. This feels like a very an idea that is very much not keeping within canon of this, but I also don't think Matt had all of that plotted out yet. It's gonna be fun when I have some cool new Raven Queen facts to drop later on.
You know how I am stereotypically anti-wizard, so I don't really need an explanation to withhold wizard rights.
Yeah, no, wizards are just put
them on a tight
leash.
They're
the least cool arcane casters. Least cool casters.
Yeah. Which doesn't mean that I don't like them, I just think that they should be oppressed.
Nobody clipped that one out of context.
Anyway, so they basically agree, they come to an agreement of essentially they're gonna take the hobbits to whatever the
Mount
fuck.
Doom, and well, sort of.
They're taking the hobbits to Vasselheim, by which I mean they are going to take the horn, I believe, with Kima.
Mm-hmm. They're not really there yet. Allura and Kima are going to work out that deal later on, and in 2 days, call back in 2 days, and then we're gonna go there.
Yes, which is essentially what they come to, is just take 2 days off, which is very fun.
Yeah.
Kiki is just very excited about having a weekend.
Yes, that was a really, really cute. Mm-hmm.
Tiberius has a whole thing about when I tried to crush it with telekinesis, it laughed at me. And I was like, we've already come to an agreement, my dude.
We've come to an agreement, and also, first of all, are you sure that it wasn't the DM laughing at you? Second of all,
entirely possible.
Second of all, literal god.
Literal god.
Literal god. Of course he knows sort of what's going on.
Are you from... I'm pretty sure the literal god knows what telekinesis is.
I'm pretty sure the literal god also can, peek into what's happening with his body parts.
Yes. His horn.
Are those not body parts?
I don't...
If he has 2 of them, one horn you can just have to blow into, but if you have 2 horns, the implication is that they grew on your body.
Yes. That's actually a really good... I don't know if that applies to rhinoceroses, actually, but... But no, I think that's a good point. If someone has 1 horn, you know that could literally... That could be like a trumpet that they have. But if they have 2 horns, they grew that. And specifically horns as opposed to antlers are full of living blood tissue.
Ew, body horror. But also, would eating that be cannibalism?
Yeah.
Do you think our audience is growing tired of this joke?
I don't know.
I mean, at this point, we're just amusing ourselves by working this into every single episode.
We are. And we've already met the quota, so, this is just for bonus points.
This was just because I could.
They're gonna take 2 days off.
Also kind of calls into question, okay, so if physical body parts of a god who is locked away behind the divine gate can exist in this plane, they shouldn't, they are all very right about that, this shouldn't exist in this plane, but divine gate what? And also, does this mean technically these things are vestiges of divergence?
Guess so.
They're not listed.
I mean, they would have to be.
They're not listed mostly because they're actual core D&D thing and not Matt made it up things, but...
That's a good point. It probably would be a vestige of divergence in canon, but he can't reskin it and put it on. We
weren't really there yet.
Yeah. Consider it to be an unnamed, an unofficial vestige of divergence.
I mean, we just lock it away in the following episodes, so we don't really have to worry about it, do we?
They basically split at this point and kind of call off the meeting after coming to the agreement. At which point everybody goes off and does their own thing, which is to say, interrogating.
Yeah, there's one bit where Tiberius thinks he needs to explain to Kima that when she approaches her king?
Not a king.
Yeah. Make sure to mention that divine magic is going to help with this, which, my dude, my guy, what do you think a paladin is? What do you think a priest is? What do you think is happening here?
Oof. Ow. What do you think? What? Do you know how magic works? I know you're a sorcerer, but do you really know how it works? Because, what kind of spells do you think she, a paladin, has?
I mean, maybe it just didn't, okay, sometimes it's, kind of hard, because people will tell you in the comments readily that, trouble paying attention to what's happening might just be down to what is called chemo brain, which...
Yeah, but this doesn't feel like having trouble paying attention.
It kind of like, if you, this kind of feels like not understanding the fundamentals, and also, if you have trouble paying attention, do what Taliesin did for the first few episodes, and just kind of tune out unless you know what's going on, or like gasp or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, don't insert yourself into every scene as the main character who tries to explain the world to people while not understanding what the world is.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be sympathetic about this, but I would have a much easier time being sympathetic if it wasn't for the fact that Marisha gets shat on for doing much less, egregious stuff.
Okay. Also, to be fair, if you, look into the historical records, aka the YouTube comments, Marisha only really gets shit after Orion is gone.
That's true.
They just straight up went from her to him.
Yes,
from him to her.
From him to her, yes.
From him to her. It's the
but
thing.
Still,
maybe
it feels to me like Marisha actually does try her best to pay attention and take notes, and she makes mistakes. But it feels like her mistakes get punished marginally more, both by the fandom and the actual.
Marginally?
Way more by the fandom, marginally more by Matt.
Again, I will say this so many times until we actually get to an example of this. Every time Marisha gets a spell wrong, Taliesin usually also got it wrong, and Matt usually also gets it wrong.
That's true. So it feels like a double standard for me. And I think that is frustrating to me more than anything, because it's like the double standardness. And also it's frustrating to me because it feels like mansplaining.
That is the core issue here, I suppose. And mansplaining in the original meaning of deigning to explain to fictional women played by a man, which makes this funny. Something that you actually know less about than the person you're explaining it to. It's not literally every time a man explains something.
No, but it's just like, hey, remember to tell your king, not a king, a god.
Not a king.
That it's important to use divine magic.
You're talking to a literal person who uses nothing but divine magic, going to talk to her other brethren who also are very much on the divine side of things, as we have established in this conversation and every conversation with this person before. Also, you kind of know about her dragon god affiliation.
Yeah, just, hey, sorcerer, remember to use arcane magic.
You try to use your arcane magic today, not the other kind of magic you've been using this entire time.
Yeah. Hey, you do remember that there's a thing called, I don't remember what it's called. Is it like sorcery checks, right? Like there's sorcery checks that you have?
We don't even have combat now. Do we really have to go there? Do we really, really, really have to go to a place where we have to think about sorcery points again? Really?
No, you're right. Okay, moving on.
He kind of talk about spell slots this episode, which is also he's like, you all need spell slots, and I'm like, my dude, my guy. If you actually kept track of what you have.
Everyone has the right amount of spell slots, it's just that they actually keep track of them.
Technically everyone has too few spell slots for my liking, but I'm just speaking as a caster, so,
Anyway, while this all is happening, one thing, they ask if all the ladies are that big in Draconia, which, as you mentioned...
asked that specifically.
It's not Pride anymore, but it was when they recorded this.
Yep. So happy Pride to you too, Keyleth.
Yeah, we like big women too, Keyleth.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Keyleth gets herself a nice girlfriend at some point, and I hope that girlfriend is a big dragonborn, because it feels like something Keyleth would be into.
Yeah.
And now we get to the other interrogation scene, the much more fun and juicy interrogation scene.
It's not really an interrogation, it's more like... Oh, that's kind of stupid, but...
Being a little shit. I love him.
Mm-hmm,
he wants to surprise the Briarwoods.
He kind of just wants to ask the Sovereign about who are these people, what are they doing here, and can you please inform me when they come back into town?
Mm-hmm. He's very efficient about it.
He is. Surprisingly so, because, Uriel, then while Percy's politely inquiring about these people, just goes on and tells the story about how they have replaced the Rollo family that came to an unfortunate demise recently, and he says that to Percy, who
in his face.
In his face, and Percy's not known for keeping his last name a secret.
I often...
All three of them are very much not a secret.
I have two interpretations of this scene. Number one,
Uriel is stupid, yes.
Uriel is stupid and is already kind of having his brain drained by the Briarwoods, so, these kind of cognitive, dissonances don't really sink in. for him.
Two.
Number 2.
Uriel just somehow managed to miss Percy's last name all this time. It just never came up.
No, that's my theory. My theory is that everybody, whenever Percy starts saying his whole last name, his like full name, everyone just kind of tunes out by the middle. So they never hear the
He has
Dorolo.
3 last names. So it's Percival Frederickstein von Musel. Okay, cool.
Cool.
From Musel.
We'll call you Percy. So like nobody actually ever like sinks into the Dorolo. They're just like what's his last name? I think it's called
Muscles. I think he's called Muscles or something.
I think his name is Vaughn.
No, I think that's like a particle.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Vaughn. Von Muscle, I think.
Like dear Evan.
Yeah, that's my 2 theories here.
Fine. It's just fine. It's fine.
It's funny. What's more funny is Percy essentially saying that like he wants to surprise the Barwoods when they come home because he wants to talk to them, but he doesn't want Sovereign Uriel to tell the Barwoods that would like to speak with them.
Mm-hmm. Just discreetly inform him when they're back in town.
Yes. Tiberius gives him a little piece of paper to write on, to which Sovereign Uriel immediately goes like, I know what this is. Like, I've seen these, like, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Percy rolls a natural 20 deception check.
On what Marisha calls the pretty new die, so I have the theory that this is the first appearance of the Golden Snitch.
Yeah, I hope it is.
Can we still use that term? God damn it.
Keyleth asks Percy why he's so sweaty, and he says it's a very fun ramble about the sun.
It gets warm when the sun comes out.
Yeah, he's a dick. I love him.
Do I correct the spelling mistake, or do I leave it there?
Which one is that?
It says Percy is suck
a dick.
It should be such a dick, but I think I'm gonna leave it.
Keep the suck a dick. Suck a dick.
Yeah.
Vax has theological questions, but not for the last time.
Yeah, and we get treated to Matt trying to play a character who is very faithful and very religious, coming from someone who, I hazard to guess, is a lot less religious.
Oh yeah.
Like this is also the kind of situation where the question, well, your god sent you to be tortured for a few weeks. That's not cool. Like, this is some of these things that actually do really challenge faith.
Yeah, though I don't hate Kima's answer. Like, when you're being tortured and it sucks, it's nice to have somebody to think about. And think, well, it's all there for something. There for the grace of God go I.
That's just bringing the entire conversation back around, isn't it?
It sure is, but I genuinely think this part is very funny, just because, like, as the aforementioned, like, it does not seem like Kima's quite...
Yeah, Kima is still in the coping stage of things. She isn't really articulate to, like... She tries to recruit people to her church, but she can't really do it effectively. She's not really up for theological debates right now, which I don't think paladins are for anyways. They're more like the muscle of the church.
It hasn't quite happened yet, but it will happen soon, at the point in which Vox Machina realizes that who they thought to be a very faithful and very, like, calm and average part of the Bahamut faith is actually the equivalent of a loose cannon.
They will meet someone of the Tiamat faith too.
Yeah, they will.
It's actually very similar.
I'll give him a hand.
But I'm gonna get the hose.
But yeah, it's very fun to actually have like these moments where somebody's like, tell me why your faith works, Kima, and it's like, we're not gonna get an answer from Kima that you think is representative.
When I hit someone, I can hit them harder if I will to because of my god, and this is the extent of my faith.
Yeah, this is not what you think. You're not asking the right person.
When you have to take a saving throw in my general vicinity, I can add +3 to it. That's faith.
Pretty
That's
sick.
God.
It's pretty sick.
Pretty sick.
Yeah,
that's
but
cool.
Neither Tofor nor Kima. By the way, did you get vibes from them? I got vibes from them.
I mean, they seem to have, like, they gave each other respectful nods.
Yeah, and they're both, like, butch women.
Okay, I'm going to, okay. So, Team 4-star.
Yeah.
The Dragon Ball Z abridged people.
Uh-huh.
Are making, like, an animated original short series called Hiffle, Home for Infinite Losers, about defeated villains in Hell, in which Hell is they have to live in a cul-de-sac together and be neighborly.
Oh, I love this.
It's amazing. You would, if you were into Dragon Ball and would understand this, you would love it even more. Just watch the abridged series. I can recommend it. Well, I can recommend 3/4 of it. First 15 episodes, abridged series in 2009. No. 8 even. So no. But everything after that, great. I think you would get something out of it. Anyways, and there's a scene where the newest villain in Hell, called Cell, who is a very, I have, like, kind of Gilmore vibes, I would say, and, like, the showmanness with the deep resonating voice and the songs, meets his new neighbors, among them one Frieza villain called Zarbon, who is also, like, has very much the same vibes. They just stand in front of each other and go, at each other, so, like, game recognizing game.
Yeah.
That's the vibes.
That's the vibes. Yeah, I feel like that's right. I wasn't going to imply that they have, explored each other's bodies before, because it doesn't seem like that kind of vibe, but it definitely seems like, game recognized game.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to think that Allura is over on the sidelines being like, But yes, that's my headcanon. That's not in-universe.
We don't know. I don't think Topher Praetorius ever really shows. I mean, she might show up again at some point, but she doesn't matter.
She doesn't. Anyway.
No, none of these people except for Seeker assume, and usually not even as himself, are going to matter again.
Anyway, what else is happening? What else do we need to know about this council scene before they go shopping?
Nothing. We're done with the council scene. We are not done with the one thing we have in the content warnings, because
the sexual harassing.
So followed by this situation where Kima tries to talk about faith. Grog picks that moment to ask whether her faith allows her to have relations. And, okay, so Kima kind of blushes, says, like, not really, and then runs off and has to take care of some things. And the cast, and including Matt as Allura, plays this off as, like, a funny, she's just embarrassed kind of moment. Mm-hmm. However, okay, this is not what it's intended. This is not in the text. This is just how this read to me, based on sort of personal experiences, which is going to sound way more dramatic than it was.
Yes. But still.
But, like, the way she reacts to now having irrefutable evidence that Grog is interested in her sexually, which she previously only had from sort of Scanlan, who was, doing things that were very much like, she punched him for them. It's fine. No, it's not fine, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
It kind of feels like she is suddenly coming to the realization that she has been repeatedly sexually harassed, if not assaulted, for the last week by the people she was dependent on for her own survival.
Yes, and the people who she just complimented very highly.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely feels to me like you agree of just like, oh...
Like, she was really hard trying not to read this into the situation, like, maybe it's just weird, maybe it's just a little weird, or kind of
maybe
funny,
it's just
or
underground,
serious,
and they're all pent up and it's weird, and then, like, they're not
crazy.
Underground
He just
anymore.
gotten tortured too, and just keeping all of that down, and sometimes it takes you, like, a while to realize that, oh yeah, that was sexual harassment, wasn't it?
Yep, mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty sure we were talking when I realized this about one of the instances I experienced this.
Yes. It's like,
which was again...
And I feel like there's a way to, like, talk about how... I feel like that is also relevant to this episode, and that, like, boy, sometimes sexual harassment does not feel traumatic when it happens, and it isn't traumatic. It's not, like, violent or scary. It takes a while for you... Like, sometimes that makes it harder for you to understand that it happened. And then, like, when it sinks, it goes like, oh, that wasn't okay.
Yeah, was this, like, targeted harassment or something? Or is this just a very bad sense of humor? Or something I misunderstood and stuff? So this is kind of weird and hard to see. And sometimes you, like, kind of need a moment to realize this, So
while I don't think this was the intention for the scene, it's kind of hard to see.
Absolutely not.
Else.
But, I mean...
It is.
It could be read as that. It certainly reminded me of this. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they did sexually harass Kima. Like, that was something that happened.
Oh yeah, no, that's not up for debate here. It's just like this is the moment when Kima realizes that that was real.
Mm-hmm.
That is still happening.
And while it's considered comedy here, it doesn't feel like comedy to watch it.
Nope. Anyways, so they decide what to do, and Keyleth really wants to go sightseeing with them, and I would go sightseeing with Kiki. I would. Sounds delightful.
Yes, I would go to a natural history museum with Keyleth.
Also, to their credit, when Brock then asks Allura about this, Allura kind of mentally slaps him, which, okay.
Yes, good. Yes, I too would go to a natural history museum with Keyleth, but at this point they go to break. Followed by...
They go to break and they decide to go to GILMORE, and everyone is like really, ooh, GILMORE about it.
Followed by like the loudest sound that I've ever heard in my entire life.
I think, what do you mean?
The Snuggle Lord.
I think that's at the end.
No, I think that happens in break, doesn't it?
I remember putting it into the script when it happened, so I think it's at the end.
Okay, then it's probably at the end. But it just know it happens and it's incredibly loud.
Okay, maybe I didn't put it in here.
There's just like the tune-out, like da-da-da-da-da-da.
No, it just keeps going. It keeps going.
Yeah, it just
the
keeps
entire
going.
time.
And it's very loud.
It's very loud and obnoxious and it doesn't stop.
Nope. So after a break, they finally go to GILMORE's store.
I will say, before we go to GILMORE's, there's this bit where everyone is so excited to be back in Imon, our hometown, and Matt holds up a printout of a map, and then he's like, Laura and Travis have a framed map at their house, and we're gonna bring it over and put it on the set, and it's like, aww.
They love Imon.
Imon is so important to this campaign, huh?
I really hope they go back to Imon in Camp 3, just to, like, walk around and see the sights, you know?
I mean, we've done it in the first EXU run.
Yeah, but, like, it wasn't a full cast, is the thing.
True, and didn't they go to, like, an Taldore specialties restaurant thing?
They did, it was very silly.
Good.
They had, like, this is spoilers, but, like, they had, like, it was essentially, like, a medieval knights restaurant. where they had like you know how like there's the whole like foundation myth of how like Taldore came to be Taldore after like I think Jan Taldore?
I have this open. I actually, because it plays into the Arcana Zan Z-A-N
Zan Taldore.
Yeah, Jan, 3/4 of my name, Taldore.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have like a whole not reincarnation, they have like a whole reenactment of like the battle for Taldore to become Taldore with like a magical sword descending from the ceiling on wires.
Really?
It's fun. Which also made me laugh because it occurred to me that nobody in this restaurant had telekinesis or mage hand.
That's
like
cool.
They could have just used mage hand, but nope, they had to use wires.
Okay, while we're at this, can I lore dump?
Go ahead.
Because, funny that you mentioned this, because these, like, battles and wars fought when Jean Taldore took over and made it Taldore and became sovereign. Very specifically sovereign, by the way, not king or queen or empress.
Yeah, that's something they did in the reenactments. They're like, You can't be king, and she's like, no, I won't be king. I'll be sovereign.
Sort of, yes. During these battles, actually, like, the other side, the evil dude who had taken over and was king, and his side apparently, like, chipped away a little bit at the Divine Gate and got, like, demons or something to this side, which shouldn't be possible post-Divergence, and that was when cool and normal magic lady from Singorn, who was also there because this was a war fought against Singorn, who just fucked right out of the whole Calamity business and just bamfed back into this plane when that was settled with, and then other people started coming in and fighting them. Yeah, like they do. It's a Singorn tradition. Shit goes down, we're out.
Bye. We out.
Yeah, and it was when people did some demon shit during that whole situation that the cool and normal magic leader person from Singorn was like, maybe wizards shouldn't have rights. Which you'd think that after wizards fucked up the entire Age of Arcanum thing and caused this mess 500 years before this, they might have considered before. But that's when she was like, wizards shouldn't have rights, and I'm going to found an Illuminati kind of order to mandate what wizards are allowed to do and what they are not to do. That's the Arcana Pontifical that Allura is part of and other people are part of.
I agree completely with this organization.
What?
No rights for wizards.
The thing is, they have like weird oaths that they take and stuff about the truth is we're allowed to do this and this and that, and if you don't do, you suck, and we are going to take you out, and you should obey the law, but we are above the law, and just
Listen, you have to do some questionable stuff if you want to, oppress wizards.
It's just
really
wizards
what I'm
oppressing
interested.
wizards, even this internalized wizard phobia.
Good. This is exactly what I want.
This is the secret Illuminati Allura is part of that should prosecute Scalen for war crimes.
Even though he isn't a wizard, I feel like you should be...
It's about arcane magic. If anything, you'd accept Vasselheim to have like an active inquisition like this going on. The EXU bit just tickled my world-building brain.
Yes. Anyway, so they go to Gilmore's store.
They do.
And they meet Gilmore, who's lovely, and I cannot stress this enough, is not like the Legend of Vox Machina Gilmore.
And this is not because of the voice actor. The voice actor did a wonderful job with what he was given. It's just that what he was given is like someone tried really, really hard not to call it a slur while writing it.
Yes, it's
Or
just like,
animating
oh yeah, a gay man. We know what a gay man is.
And they don't use the term gay man.
They don't use that.
In their mind while doing, like, it's they don't actually say slurs like this, and I don't want to imply anything for the people who worked on this on the animated show, but the way it came out.
It came out as, like, very shorthanded. It reminded very much of, like, exactly what you'd expect from, like, an early 2000s comedy movie when they need to have, like, a gay character.
Yeah. Which is also, by the way, with my friends who had no idea what Critical Role Beyond I shipped this thing, maybe. And the scene from episode 40 knew nothing about this and watched it because they like me, and were like, is this a hate crime? Seems like a hate crime.
It is, because, like, if I could... Okay, so the closest character in personality and style and vibe that I can compare to Gilmore is actually...
Yeah.
the Ruby of the Sea.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I can kind of see it.
Not in the character type, but in the way that, like, Matt performs the characters. Like, they're both very physical performances. They have, like, a lot of, like, hand gestures and body posture. And, like, a lot of it comes across as kind of very relaxed and very kind of sultry.
Yeah, like, you're sultry but without trying.
No, effortlessly. Like, effortlessly just kind of, it's like if you take the Legend of Vox Machina, Gilmore, and you give him a volume, put him on, like, some benzos. Actually, are benzos? I don't know.
I don't know American drug names.
Give him some downers, get him nice and calm, and that's Gilmore. Like, he does go up, and he does get, like, a little bit more of, like, flamboyant and up and energetic. But, like, for the most part, he's kind of down low.
But the thing is, like, he's mostly, like, and they've talked about this in native stuff, I think. It's mostly like a stage theater kind of man.
Yes.
Which, yes, of course, can be coded for gay, but just, like, the kind of stage presence he has. Mm-hmm. In a room full of actors, like, when Matt goes into Gilmore, it stands out.
Yes, and, like, when you see moments behind, like, the Gilmore performance, that is also interesting in and of itself, because you do get the sense that this is a performance.
And then you also see Taliesin just kind of dying in his seat whenever Matt goes there, and you're like, oh, Matt is channeling a real person they both know.
For sure, just like when Matt channeled, like, there was a scene much later on in, the place where Gilmore is from, in which they meet a woman in, like, smoking a hookah in a tent.
Yes.
And, like, Taliesin cannot handle himself because Matt is channeling Taliesin's mom.
He actually says thanks, Mom, at the end there, really sheepishly.
Yeah, he's just dying because he cannot. Oh no, that is. So yeah, you get these like little glimpses of like, oh, this is a real person, and that's kind of how you feel with weirdly enough Cassandra too, but definitely with Gilmore.
We have words about Cassandra.
Yes.
Also, if you want to hear more about our wonderful, wonderful opinions on the Legend of Vox Machina, some point in the very near future, this 4-hour baby is going to be put on the Patreon and in an abridged version on the YouTube.
Anyway, yeah, I think the main thing that I think makes Gilmore so appealing, as you see him rather than on paper, is that like you can take all the traits that make Gilmore good on paper, and they won't necessarily translate, because like the way they feel in universe is that like, oh, this is very clearly based on a person.
Yeah, like on an actual person, not on a stereotype. And whereas you could apply this criticism to kind of every character on the cartoon, when it comes to Gilmore, it kind of sticks out more.
Yeah, it feels like not. I don't know. Like the appeal to me is like his presentation is definitely meant to like be funny and to like be charming and charismatic, but it's also like you're never laughing at Gilmore. You know?
No.
The joke is never Gilmore. It's never the joke is never how Gilmore is.
The joke is always how how endearing that is.
Yes.
The joke is how completely believable it is that he would be like that, and then he's flirting with Vex and stuff.
Also, like how contagious his sort of behavior and mood is. Like whenever like they interact with Gilmore, it just feels like a very contagious kind of energy.
Yeah, he's just like a pleasant man to be around.
Also, and this is something that I think people always forget, Gilmore is often balanced out with Sherry, and Sherry helps a lot. Because whenever you have, it feels like a Punch and Judy, because like you have Gilmore who's like very charismatic and very contagious, like very much wants to like draw out information from you, somehow never talks about himself. That's another thing about Gilmore, is that he always kind of avoids talking about himself, no matter how many times you ask. You also have Sherry, who's just like I dream of kissing Sherry in the moonlight. I will admit this. She's just a shrewd businesswoman.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as Gilmore leaves the scene, Sherry comes in and she's here to give you the bill.
Yeah, Sherry is just the person keeping this all together. Yeah. She's kind of done with everyone's shit.
So you kind of need both of them. They have a lovely queer platonic business partnership.
You kind of need both of them.
Yeah, it's queer platonic.
Yes. The vibe is kind of like, okay, they're not a couple, they're very much platonic, but there's this gay couple in Dragon Age Origins where one of them makes armor, the other one sells them, and they are very much that vibe where the one who makes the armor is very into the craft and the creativity and the artistry, and the other one is just like a salesman. And we find out, well, we don't find out, this is not canon, but there's like a DLC where you play as a Darkspawn, where you find out that one of them is like a desire demon, meaning playing exactly what the other one needs. And I think it's the one that's a cashier, like the businessman that is a desire demon in this scenario. Yeah.
That makes sense to me. It's just, quietly giving you exactly, like, getting you the parameters for exactly living
He's not
that
quiet when you try to, haggle too much. Which is, kind of also what he needs. Anyways, this is such a nothing episode. Why is this taking so long?
I don't know. I think we're accidentally stumbling to a lot of, like, Matt. This is, like, Matt appreciation. These are all Matt characters. Like, Sherry's Matt, like...
That's true. This is so thick in, like, substance. This is when you, like, kind of feel like, oh, there's so much to this world and so much to this game.
And you just get to watch, like, Matt go off the chain and just, like, perform a character, and you realize that, like... Because, like, I do have some critiques of Matt as a writer, mostly, because I feel like he does not have some writing chops that he could get a little better at if he really wanted to.
I see what you mean, yes.
Like, I would say that Laura has, like, really, really good writing chops, and... Even, like, Taliesin has really good writing chops. Marisha has some. Matt, not so much. I feel like his writing tends to be a little bit flat. He doesn't really do themes. But I think as, like, a performer and as a DM, he is one of the best.
Yeah, that is true. Like, there's the kind of prep and writing you need to do for a D&D game to work and to be run is very different from the kind of skills as a writer you need to really make a narrative work in another kind of medium. But he is just so excellent when he gets to do these, when he gets to play in his worlds and play as his characters, and it's just kind of this is like the first time Critical Role has felt like kind of enchanting in that way. There's been moments before, and we haven't quite reached the peak magic of full on role playing between the characters yet that we're going to hit later, but this is kind of where it starts.
And I feel like this is something about, like, the quote-unquote Mercer effect that I don't think people quite understand. Is whenever people talk about the Mercer effect, they tend to talk about, like, expansive world building, really good voices, arcs.
I mean, most of these...
Attention to detail, like... interesting battle maps, and those things are all true. These are all things that Matt does well.
Parts of these things are just the effect of having a budget for your D&D campaign.
Definitely the case with the maps. Definitely that.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing about the Mercer effect that people don't understand is that this is something you can do without a lot of money. which is just to create characters who feel alive.
Yeah, and just also the fact that this group just is so well tuned and tuned in with each other and stuff, especially in campaign 1.
Yeah, and like communicate.
It's just they just play off of each other so well. That's also part of it. And the thing is, I think you can have very similar and very fulfilling D&D games just by caring to the degree that Matt does, because Matt cares so much about all of this.
DMs listening to this, don't feel afraid to like hold your players accountable for their behavior. I think that's part of the ways of like creating good relationships with NPCs, is just to like, if your player is being a dick or not listening to an NPC.
Oh yeah. If you're a throughout role-playing campaign, you demand the roleplay.
Yes.
And if people are just messing with what you set up for them, then they don't get to play with you.
Yeah, it's like how Taliesin once said, like, this really, really cool thing about, like, if somebody at a table is making you uncomfortable, the number one thing that you should do is just tell them that they're making you uncomfortable. Because most of the time they'll balk in the face of real emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Yes. And that is the Taliesin Jaffe style, and you should employ it yourself, too. Just like, if somebody ever makes you uncomfortable at the table, say so.
Also, most people are just so conflict averse that this would never occur to them, and then others would just kind of back off just to avoid having conflict. Anyways, we were talking about GILMORE.
They're buying shit, they buy all kinds. I mean, like, we can sit here and talk about every single item that they buy, but do you want us to?
We're not going to do that. This is, like, about as interesting as fight scenes we don't care about. What I will say, what I think we have to talk about is how the entire group is just like, we're going to talk to GILMORE, and Vex is going to go first. And Keela's like, does like the dad thumb, she says, with like,
it has
doing something with his hair and casts enhance ability, and then he doesn't do a single persuasion check.
Once again, I'd say,
and slaps his ass, which like
polyamory. Polyamory would have been so good for these people.
Also, after Marisha describes how Keelan gives him a slap on the ass, Liam looks like into the camera in like a look that is, you know, that meme with the blonde woman who was like the second picture specifically.
Yes. Yeah,
it was fun. And then they pass around, like, Orion has to, of course, distract from the scene by opening red vines very loudly and then passing those around. My next hot take is that when GILMORE like does the Sapphic twirl thing with Vax, huh? No, not Sapphic in this case, but kind of does the same thing Allura did with Kima, huh?
He does! He picks him up off the ground.
Homoerotic parallels. Anyways, and then he does call him Vaxalia.
He does call him Vaxalia.
Mm-hmm. That is the thing that happens.
Funny, and then Matt immediately goes like, no, that didn't happen. I will also say this about Matt, like, there's an alternate universe in my brain, which doesn't happen because I do think that GILMORE had feelings for Vax, like, real, genuine feelings. Mm-hmm. But there's another world in which, like, Vax breaks up with him very tearfully, and GILMORE has to be like, oh, sweetheart. We were not in a relationship. Like, you were fun. Like, you're fun to, flirt around and go on dates with, and, like, maybe do over-the-pants stuff, but, like,
Yeah, and okay, my hot take is that when Liam then says, you naughty man, just call me by my sister's name that is going to cost you, that might be the sexiest thing he has ever said.
It might be.
It might be.
It's definitely the closest to sex appeal. So, they spend a truly exorbitant amount of money on armor and items, some of which they need, some of them I genuinely don't think they need. I think they just got the runaround by sharing.
Yeah, some of these that they are talked into, like the health potion and so on, is fine. They don't even know. They get the belt of Dwarven Kind, but they don't know that you grow facial hair with it, and I thought this was like their main motivation in buying it.
They don't know. Mercer makes up the unicorn logo on the fly, which is lovely.
Yes!
Yeah.
I think so. We don't really know, but apparently she does when GILMORE... This is very much later when GILMORE is like, okay, so...
The timeline of this...
Kind of Vex gets to have a B-plot this episode.
Quote unquote. It happens off screen.
Going on a date with GILMORE. Yeah, it happens not entirely off screen, just mostly. And it also doesn't take away from the main action because it's not in an initiative order. So not quite the same, but it is the B-plot. we get to see Laura unleash her full haggling skills as Vex.
And you get the sense that she would do a much better job if she wasn't there. Just
even all the way from Florida. It's impressive.
The main thing about why I say like they got run around by Sherry is that it feels to me like they purchased things, clearly. And some things they just kind of agreed to, and they were like, we'll put that away and we'll think about it. And it feels to me like by the end, they just kind of were given like a bill for everything.
True, when they figured out they could pay the bill for everything, they just bought everything without really talking about, are we really going to need this? Is this really necessary? Oh, it sounds cool. Let's just put it on the pile. We sort this later. Oh, we can afford all of this? We'll take all of this.
Yeah, do we really need a potion of water walking?
No, literally not. Like, I will argue that the potions for petrification removal
I agree.
Are good to have, even though Pike and Keyleth have greater restoration, because what do you do when they get petrified?
Yeah, what do you do when they get petrified?
Yep.
What do you do if Keyleth gets petrified and Pike isn't there?
So yeah, get those potions.
These are problems. I will also say that it makes me very anxious. At some point, they pay partially with a diamond worth 1,000 gold rubies. That made me extremely anxious.
That diamond could be used for better things.
Yeah, they spend so much time repairing.
I don't think we use material components yet for this.
Maybe not, but still.
For revivifications, which is still a totally normal word you have in a totally normal language.
Yes, a totally not broken thing to say. But yeah, it just made me so anxious. It just like has a revivify diamond written on it. Like basically they gave a diamond that if you like look at the bottom says for revivification.
This is a life. Don't sell it.
Yeah, do not sell.
Yeah.
Not for individual purchase.
There is some hilarious timing in when, like, after the connection dies down at one point, they come back, and then, like, when they come back, and then, Travis asks very sheepishly, so how much is a platinum worth? Then Matt is like, there will be 10 gold. There is a beat. You see Laura look at Travis. And just,
those are his shinies.
They are his shinies, and he thinks he has 150 of them, which they get way too excited about, because that's not that much gold, actually.
Just 1,500 gold.
Then it turns out he has 1,620 of them, which does get you somewhere.
Yeah, that's bargaining money, because the total, I think, ends up being like 39,000.
Yeah, around about. And they managed to pay all of that, I think.
Right up, like, by basically upturning their whole wallet and then looking in their pockets for spare change.
Yeah, I think it's literally going to be a plot point in the next episode that they don't have any party funds left after this. They clear out everything from this. Yeah,
and they talk about starting a line of credit, which essentially means... I will agree that I don't disagree with them not taking it, just because, like, of the way that Gilmore, once he comes back from his B-plot with Vax, talks about it. I think he says, you have to pay it within a month or I'll kill you.
You'll be hunted down, but yes.
You'll be hunted down? Just like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and also like a month to get to Craghammer when it's not on the agenda right now and you don't really know what's going to pop up feels like, this is like a big commitment to make in a D&D game. Like, oh boy.
Yes, and as we know, like, they won't make as much money from Craghammer as they wanted to.
Because have you kept count of how many things they scalped in the Underdark? We have. It is 0.
This is actually one in early campaign 2. They spend so much time painstakingly taking no ears.
They learned.
Yes. I do agree. I do understand why they spend all their money, and like every single cent that they have in the bank. Because they have, like, this understanding that they will make more money by collecting off the Craghammer loan, essentially.
Yeah, but also it feels like, I wouldn't really, like, do they have any walking around money, any spending money? Can they buy a dinner? I mean, Tiberius can because he robbed them beforehand, but can they buy dinner?
No, they can't. Can they buy dinner? Like, are they just gonna spend some time just, like, only going out with Allura so that she can conveniently take the bill?
Don't they literally meet Gilmore at a pub and he gives them breakfast? Dinner.
They might. They're not the most liquid.
Not now. That's just before the Chroma Conclave attack and Matt made them all poison resistant. Which I don't think he did on purpose, but maybe he did. But no, it certainly is funny.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's very funny. But yeah, that's pretty much all the haggling. I mean, like, I still think that I would have, like, given back at least one cloak or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, give me 1,000 gold just so that we have walking around money. But, like, they don't do that. They spend every single cent, and then they basically close out on that.
Pretty much, yes. We do get some glimpses into the date with Vax and Gilmore, where they, like, go to, like, a park with arcane-shaped sculptures in it, and just have a talk about how insane and dangerous this all was, and Liam at one point gets into describing every single touch of the hand and squeeze and stuff, and it's like, ooh. And then they get day drunk.
Yeah.
And
then they get schnackered. Whatever that means.
Is that a Yiddish word?
I mean, I wasn't sure. Okay, there are several things in this episode that made me go, oh yeah, okay, I can definitely see how Liam spent a lot of time with old Jewish men.
He says Vax is verschnickert.
Verschnickert. Which I couldn't parse if he meant that he is addled from an orgasm, or addled from being drunk, or addled from both.
Which is really hard to say, but considering how they spend all the time in a public place, I would assume...
Again, over the...
I say over, this,
I've said over... I said over the pants stuff.
You can do a lot over the pants.
But yes, I think that ultimately, like, my point here is that there's the Verschnickert, and then there's the part where Liam says good on you when Tiberius gets a new thing, which is a very Jewish old man thing to say.
Is this like the evil eye thing that's described? Acknowledging something without voicing envy? Like apparently what Muslims say with inshallah, like it's
yes.
So glad God did this for you or something.
Well, I mean, the thing that I was thinking about, there's like an expression in Hebrew that essentially doesn't translate to English, which, I mean, I guess you could translate it as like new on you.
Okay, cool. Pike commissions quiet armor, which, rip on that.
Did she ever get?
Nope.
I wonder if just like, that was, like being delivered during the Coma Conclave, and then like, it just sort of, somebody got lucky, you know, somebody found like a delivery with quiet armor. And just was like, oh, sick.
and then that same person took a vacation to Marquette and found a cool javelin.
Some very lucky son of a bitch, yeah.
I really, really want them to encounter that urban legend in Campaign 3. I really do.
It's the same person who, like, when they took another vacation, like, a couple years later to, like, the Bay of Gifts. And, like, there were, like, 2 mastiffs running out of a hotel, and they were just like, now they just have 2 mastiffs. And then they went to visit
this remote island and found a dog figurine in, like, a room.
And now they have 3 mastiffs.
Now they have 3 mastiffs. What is with 7 mastiffs in this campaign? We'll get there.
Oh, man. Oh, God, is this the Lord of the Crossroads?
What?
You know the person who, like, got the card from Grog?
Oh!
We're making up a guy. We're engaging in a time-honored tradition of make up a guy. We're making up a guy and getting excited
about a guy. Yeah, okay, so the last thing I think we need to talk about here is, like, okay, no, first, the items they get are, like, useful stuff. Plus a C-ring, sure. Waterwalk, armor for Keyleth. Yeah, the Cold Snap armor is... I don't think Keyleth is going to be the one wearing it, but it's cool armor. Doesn't Scalen have that and then trade with Vex when he's about to go into an Acid Dragon, and then Vex has Cold Snap and then she gets cooler Cold Snap? Cool armor. Yeah. But how did Scanlan get it? We will see when he's actually there. Eventually.
I don't know. Maybe, like, he slept with Pike and then he just took her armor in the time-honored tradition of taking your girlfriend's stuff.
Considering how this is during the campaign, I do not think so.
This is fanfiction that I'm writing.
Okay.
Anyway.
Bal is writing fanfiction, do not disturb her.
Go ahead.
The last thing I think we really need to call attention to here is that after they spend all this money, Vex is like, I feel uncomfortable, and goes outside and tucks trinket.
Oh, she does.
And, like, you will notice that she haggles with the money. She haggles a lot.
And
to keep the party funds high. None of the things that are purchased are for her at all. She just, like, people say they need a thing, and she will give them the funds, and she keeps track of the funds. And she tries to give them the best deal.
She does. And, like, she very rarely says no. Like, if somebody says, I want this, especially, like, now when she can't actually talk to people directly because she's remotely, but, like, she very rarely just tells people, no, you can't get that. Like, she'll try to figure it out the best price for it.
She also just gave Tiberius his 500 gold pocket change.
Yes, and the only time I can think of when she says, like, no is, like, specifically, she's like, "Will you bitches keep spending all the party money?"
It's going to happen next episode, right?
I think so. Because, like, they literally can't pay their staff.
And to really, really, really bookend this, I mean, yeah, they can't pay their staff because they are all out of money, so the twins just foot the bill from their personal funds. And bookending this, if they pay, like, thousands of gold pieces for all of this stuff, like, individually, how did the bag of holding only cost 500 gold?
Huh. I mean, it's confusing because, like, the whole thing is that, like, he never asked Matt to buy one, so he just has one and then says, like, spend 500 gold on it?
Is that the DM's guide or player's handbook guide suggested price? I can't look any of these things up right now.
I guess so.
He just has one.
Seems like cheating.
He doesn't even really lose the money. He just gets the 500 gold back.
Yeah, he just did, like, a...
He kind of just cheated, right? Is this just cheating? This is just cheating. He didn't even, like, he bought this with somebody else's money and didn't even, like, make sure it was available. He just got this off screen. Like, he literally just typed in the cheat code.
What is the cheat code in The Sims? Motherload?
Motherload. That's
Yes.
50,000 at least. He just did half a kaching. Because for 500 simoleons you can't buy shit. Because, like, I will say that these prices seem to be very high compared to what the player's handbook tells you, but also they've been getting more money than the player's handbook tells you, so it evens out.
Inflation.
It's just not called.
Inflation is a problem.
Let's just not bring economics into this.
Taldoria's inflation is astronomical.
Yeah.
Remember to, whenever you're going out of the country, remember to always bring your own money. Like, if you're coming into Tal'Dorei from Wildmount, bring Wildmount money, don't bring... Yeah, because it's worth more. You spend more, like, you know.
Keep your opinions for the end of the episode, sweetheart.
Okay. Shall we rate this bad boy, then?
Yeah, I think we're at that point.
Our beautiful scale, our handsome... As we've said, handsome can be used to describe literally anything. Our handsome
with its swagger
scale,
and its daring and the
Purvan
just white
scale.
clothes it's wearing. Bearing.
Yes, the Purvan Scale. Tell me, Anna, what does the P in Purvan stand for?
It stands for pizzazz, which you do jazz hands to.
Actually, you might want to do like the for this specific episode, you might want to do the Gilmore hand.
True. That does this count as pizzazz? I don't know if it counts as pizzazz.
I don't think it does. I think it counts as role playing.
Yeah. Do we give them point for having like a sort of working Skype connection to Laura and Travis?
I was gonna give them a little bit for the horns.
Yeah, of course.
So like a 1.5.
Sure, that's fine.
So the second letter in Purvan is U.
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
Uncomfortableness. Oh,
sure
boys.
is sure that. I mean, the thing is, besides the slur, and besides the thing that is a lot tamer in context of this episode than it read to me.
I don't know. They were really uncomfortable about Allura.
Oh, yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but like they were kind of gross about Allura.
True, that too. Yes, they were very gross about Allura.
And I was uncomfortable with Tiberius is making, well, actually it's Orion, making just such a complete fuss about, like, the whole, like, just friends thing.
He did yell and slam the table.
Like, it feels like a macroaggression.
Yeah, kinda does. What's that, a -3?
-3.
That feels, yeah, when you list it all out like that feels earned. We are at a -1.5. Which brings us to the R, which is for role-playing realness, which, as you said, the Gilmore bits get points. The Allura bits get points.
Oh yeah, the Allura bits get points. I actually kind of want to give them points too for like how many characters Matt is balancing during the during the council scene.
The council meeting, and they're all differentiable.
There's one part that made me laugh where like Matt starts talking as Kima and he does the Allura voice, and then he goes like, she doesn't say it like that, she says it like Kima. And, like, that's the only time that he gets the voices confused, which is really impressive.
Yeah! This is like a big crowd scene. So, props, Matt carrying this. I mean, he carries literally every episode, but, I mean, you know what I mean.
Like, Matt is definitely the highlight of this episode.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like...
He's not always the highlight.
Yeah, because there are scenes in which Percy's the highlight, or Kima's the highlight,
yeah.
Or Kima's Matt, or Vex is the highlight. But, like... He has some great moments this episode. I want to give it like a 2.
Isn't it 2.5?
2.5.
2.5.
Okay.
Which puts us as +1. Is it my turn or yours?
It's your turn, I think.
Is it? Yay.
No, you're right. It's my turn. I just spoke over you completely for the role-playing realness.
No, I spoke over you for the uncomfortableness, so hey.
Okay, so role-playing realness. Action.
No, you skipped your actual turn.
V!
Yes. That.
V. It's for vexiness. I'm of two minds about this.
I think we have to give points here because she does start haggling and it is just mesmerizing to watch.
Yeah, it is.
But she's also not actually there.
And I do like the bit where she like cuddles Trinket. But there's not a lot of other than that, right? Like she's not very present this episode.
No, she's just like a haggle.
She's a good
bot
haggle
in the
bot.
corner. She's a good haggle
so
bot.
Like a 1.5 or a 1?
Yeah, I think 1.5 is earned, which puts us plus 2.5.
Plus 2.5.
A is for action, and we have none of that.
Not applicable. 0.
We have none of that! Is this the first time we don't have an action scene?
It might be.
Oh my god!
No combat.
There's no random encounter. Nothing. Oh wow. Wow. NA. Bring it home.
Which puts us to the last 9 cents.
Which I also will say is not really applicable here, huh?
No, I feel like there was a bit of 9 cents.
What Tiberius does is kind of like now that he can actually fuck off and do his own thing and then drag down the pacing with it. That is very much a 9 cents thing.
It's a bit of faffing around. And also I feel like the haggling, even though I enjoyed it, kind of dragged a bit.
I'm not sure that it qualifies as 9 cents though.
Okay, so we'll just consider the Tiberius trip?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that. So like a 0.5? Like a negative 0.5?
I think maybe
or do we want to
point.
give it positive 9 cents? Because the Allura scene...
The date.
Doesn't really contribute to anything. And the date, but they are very fun and character revealing.
I mean, the Allura thing contributes a little bit. I suppose the date kind of does too. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say like we give it a point for the Allura scene, right? Because I really enjoyed the Allura scene. And let's say we give it a point.
Out of 0?
She gives it out of 0. And let's say we give it another point for the GILMORE scene. And then we subtract another point
I don't think we already did that.
They were about Allura, or do we not subtract that? Because we already said... No, we already subtracted that. So I guess that puts it at 1 point. Since we're subtracting 1 point, we're adding a point,
this
and then we're adding another point.
This sounds like the math with Tiberius bit from next episode or so. But yeah.
How about this? Do you feel okay about 1 point? Or
Yes, I do. It's a 3.5 total, right?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. Okay, we have a 3.5 total.
Yay!
Decent episode.
Decent episode. Don't know why we talked about it for over 3 hours, but like... It's only a 3-hour episode.
And if you cut out the break and the character stuff, this might be legitimately the first episode of ours that is kind of longer than the amount of content we actually got from the real episode.
You just start timing shit. Anyway.
But this might be the point where we need to start rating it in. There's just so much more to talk about when there's no fight scene.
Anyway.
Apparently.
Thank you very much for listening.
Dear listener.
Thank you for being my co-host.
Thank you for being my co-host and editing this bitch. If you think we did a totally awesome job or something, actually we don't really care what you think about this, just do this anyways.
Still.
I'm so bad at this. Stuff. But like, comment, subscribe, share, heart, tweet, reblog. Don't put us on Reddit.
You can put us on Reddit if you want to, but like not on the only if it's like a good Reddit, you know, like not like a high quality Reddit. Like don't put us on like a low tier bullshit Reddit.
Yeah, sure. Tell your friends anything to promote us.
Become a Patreon member if you really want to.
Yes, we have stuff on the Patreon. We currently. But at the time of recording, we are catching up on posting the actual Patreon bonuses, which we kind of got out of hand, but we will have those up by the time this is aired. So we will do this. We even tried to do the early access, even though we've been cutting it real close so far. Real close.
Thank you very much to Kernson.
Yeah. Thank you for the theme song.
Thank you very much for letting us use our theme song.
He put it up for free. We're using it. He knows about this technically.
Red Fox Tavern. Thank you to Olafio for a cover art, or beautiful cover art.
She very much knows about this. Did you see the extras she did for the guest episodes we had?
I did. They're so cute.
It was more like for the audience because I shoved them in your face, but yes. Like literally the order was here. Like we had this idea with the emoji, can you just copy that on there? I mean if you can't do it right now, I can do it with hate or something, and she was like, no, that looks stupid, let me just draw this. And we were like, what? And she didn't even want to be paid for this because she was procrastinating something else anyways. So you
should definitely commission her if you so want. You can find her on Tiru, right?
Tiru, yes. She is linked in the YouTube description and in the metadata that I put into every single post on the podcasting apps. You can access this on some podcasting apps somehow, along with the timestamps. Other than that, we have a Twitter and a Tumblr under Critical Rollback, and there you can find all the links.
Thank you to our,
Thanks to the people listening to this.
Thank you to our patrons. Thank you to our everything,
And our opinion this episode is: remember that Gilmore and his glorious goods are only supposed to be offensive to your senses, not to your sensibilities. God, we're going to get cancelled for Legend of Vox Machina opinions before we even put out the episode, huh? If the 24 people listening to this can cancel us,
whatever.
We'll see.
It'll just be free publicity.
Da, 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 da.